right, so thank you everyone who's here joining for the second annual Live Beautiful Wellness Summit. I'm really excited. We have another fantastic group of speakers this year, and we're all going to learn a lot. Not to worry if you can't be here for the entire day. Of course, it's a long day. You can come and go as you please. And I will be recording the webinar as well and posting it most likely on YouTube or sharing it in some way or another. So you can always go back if you missed anyone. So I'm really grateful for everyone being here today. If you have any questions for the speakers, we are going to allow, so the speakers are going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we will allow about 10 minutes afterwards just to go over some questions. So feel free to pop them in the chat. If possible, near the end of the talk. That way I know, because I get distracted all the time as soon as I see people chatting with me. But if you can save them, that would be great. We'll give you a chance to ask any questions that you might have. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kelly Summers. I'm a registered nurse and certified holistic nutritionist, owner of Belle, as well as Collaborative Corporate Health, which I'm going to be speaking on later this morning. But really, I came up with this idea over the Christmas holidays 2020, after the year that we had, and we thought, oh, this is going to be great. 2021's here, it's over. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I think I've struggled more this year than last year. So really the hopes is that we just create a positive environment and give some inspiration and hope to everyone who's watching today in one way or another. So just sit back or stand up like me. If you are sitting all day at your job, at the computer, hunching over, feel free to stand up, move around. I can't see you, so you can do some dances or whatever you like. But grab a coffee and enjoy the second annual Live Beautiful Wellness Summit. We have Joanna Haines, who is the owner of Well and Nourished Life. And basically she is an alignment coach, so human design specialist. She supports women in reconnecting with their power and purpose, aligning with their highest potential in all areas of life. She helps her clients shift into empowered action, deep-rooted confidence, and self-trust. She believes that the true magic begins when we let go of the stories of who we think we should be and start showing up as who we truly are. Oh my gosh, I think we all need to hear this, Joanna.
There we go. Hi. All right. Thank you very much for that introduction. And I'm so happy to be here. This is, it's always a fun day. So I am here to talk to you today about human design. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what it is for those of you that aren't familiar with it and are curious, and then explain how it can support you in your life, both personally and professionally. In the workplace and for yourself as you show up to your job, whatever that looks like for you. So human design is kind of like the marriage of science, or the intersection of science and spirituality. You don't have to have a spiritual practice to benefit from human design, but it's kind of a blend of a bunch of different modalities that lend themselves to this beautiful system that supports people in a way that I haven't experienced before. And so you use your birth date, time, location, and it creates this chart for you. And it's a synthesis of the chakra system, of astrology, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, and quantum science. So all of these things come together and build this chart for you, which gives you insights into your energetic roadmap, your energetic blueprint of how you were kind of wired in this world to thrive. So it's almost like a remembering of something you know already on a soul level. So when I have sessions with people, the things that I share with them, they're like, that makes so much sense. And of course it does, because I'm sharing with you your energetic blueprint. We are so conditioned in society, by society itself, by our parents, by our friends, and some of that conditioning comes to us from a loving intention. It's not always bad, but we take in all this information about how we should be, or how this person does it and how that's the right way. And we start to lose touch with the things that we know to be true for ourselves. And sometimes we can't even explain them. And so we dismiss them. And we just go down this kind of very linear path in life to success or happiness or abundance or whatever it is that we're on, we're told that you need to do A, B, C, D to get there. And it's not really the case. It's not the same for everybody. And so what I love about using human design in my coaching, or as its own standalone single session, is it starts to give you full permission and confidence to really step into who you are. Excuse me. And to see for myself, this was a really powerful piece. The things that I thought were kind of broken about me, or inconsistent, or things that really needed to be worked on to change, were actually how I was wired and were my gifts. And when I started to lean into that, everything got easier and everything got better, in my personal life and my business life too, because I was starting to understand, for instance, that I'm like a manifesting generator, and I have the ability to, like, multitasking is really good for me, doing things that don't necessarily make sense, but if it's lighting me up and I follow it, it's good for me. And so I started dropping this idea that I had to be very linear, even in my coaching practice or in my life. It's like, yeah, okay, I want to take violin lessons, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and it's fine. And not to say if you're not a manifesting generator, you can't do that. It's just that not everybody desires to operate like this either. So it helps you to confirm and like recognize themes that are playing out in your life potentially. We get a lot of wisdom around a lesson that you're maybe here to overcome in order to step into your higher power. Things that we need to ground ourselves in order to express fully, like our sun sign that is also in the human design chart. So there's just so much depth of information that comes from this chart. When we start to incorporate it and embody it, because at the beginning it's a very intellectual journey, you're like getting the information and you're processing it. And then when we really start to integrate it and embody it, we start to see that everything is just kind of energy, and the way people are wired is just the way they're wired. And it's almost like it takes it enables us to not take everything so personally. For instance, at work, if somebody is like always asking you why, and like always wants more information, and you're like, this person's so annoying, they just keep asking me why, when we can understand that maybe this person has like a 1 in their profile, or has the gate of depth where they really need to know the information because it makes them feel secure and they can't move forward in making a decision without it. We realize that they're not being annoying or questioning whether we've done something well enough. They're actually asking because they're wired to literally get all the information for themselves. So that's just a really simple example of how, when I say to take things less personally, of how it actually can play out for you. So in the chart, we can really start to see our strengths, and also where we may be vulnerable to a little bit more conditioning, where we receive a lot of things from the outside world and where we take it in. And when we notice that we're a little bit more sensitive per se in those areas, and I'm not talking sensitivity as an emotion, but just sensitivity as in like receiving in that place, we can put up a really beautiful, like loving filter of understanding what's coming at us from the world and what is ours. And so it's a really beautiful thing to learn about, and also even to see your chart, and you can see like, wow, I'm so open in this place. And so it makes sense that I'm receiving a lot of information or pressure from the world in this place. And so it can give us some really potent, powerful questions as to how to kind of, we call it deconditioning in human design, so that we can kind of return to our true center and let go of a lot of the noise that is leading us in a way that doesn't feel in alignment for us. So much stress and anxiety is caused, from a myriad of reasons, but when there's like a separation between who we feel we should be, or who we feel we are, and who we know we are, and then how we're showing up in the world. When these two are so separate, it causes a lot of stress, because you're like, none of these decisions feel good. I'm showing up in a way that doesn't feel good for me. but yet I'm continuing to do it. So we're shutting down a whole side of us. So when I say that human design can reduce stress, that's what I'm talking about in some ways, is because when we are in alignment with who we are and we're showing up from a place of empowerment and like, this is who I am and this is how I make decisions and this is energetically correct for me, it allows us to let go of the noise in a very loving way. So that's one way that it can really support you in reducing stress. Also, what I love about human design, because I like practical information as well, it gives you tools, actual tools, strategies to use to help you move forward in alignment with your energy type. And so I love astrology too, but sometimes it's more like, this is the information, and then now like go and do all this work around it to kind of figure out how that applies to you. Whereas human design, it's like, this is your strategy and this is your authority. And if you would like to start playing with human design, these are actually the steps that you can use and start doing to pull yourself into alignment. So that's why I love it. And then through using your strategy and authority, it starts reducing stress, because we're getting out of our mind all the time and start making decisions from a place of inner knowing, inner connection. There's a bunch of different ways, and it's very specific to you, but we can drop the frustration and anxiety around living up in our mind. Our mind is beautiful. Our mind is powerful, and it's there to do a lot of amazing things, but it is not there to be the authority, the guiding force in our life. It's there to witness the world. It's there to form opinions. It's there to like have ideas. It's to get inspiration. But when we ask it to make decisions for us all the time, it kind of like, that's why we get mental anxiety, because we can spend forever writing a pro and a con list for why to do something. And that's great. You need to take the information, but then we drop into our body, we drop into our strategy and authority, and that helps us make the decision. It can also be really beautiful in relationship, be it romantic or friendship or business. When you kind of understand how your team is wired, you can support people in showing up in their highest expression. And people also understand you on a different level. It can really be helpful with parenting and children. I love reading children's charts for parents, because it's so magical, but it gives there's a lot of information in there that can be really supportive in how a child's learning. You know, how our systems may not support your child in the way that they need to be. And so these are some beautiful things that you can do at home, or not just like immediately think your child has ADD, ADHD, or whatever it is, and start working with their energy to help them and support them. So yeah, I love it. I'm obviously extremely passionate about it. But really what it comes down to is that one size does not fit all, and it's not a linear approach. And when you can start understanding that and then embodying it, even if you can't really understand it, but when we start to embody it, it can really, really, really shift things for us. So as this relates to work and like your teams, maybe you would, understand how somebody's wired and ask them questions differently. You know, for the generator types and the manifesting generator types, we don't really love like open-ended questions as much. It's really easy for us to answer a question if it's a yes or no question. And so you can realize like, or start to understand that it's really powerful to be like, do you think we should do this one or this one? Not, what do you think we should do? Some people need more time to integrate information before they can make a decision. So when you stop putting pressure on this person to make a decision in the moment per se, and let them go and like chew on the information you've given them, and then they can come back to you with the answer or the information you're looking for, you'll probably get a much better and cohesive like response, presentation, whatever it is, whatever you're working in, right? And so, yeah, those are just like a few examples of how it can actually help you in the work environment as well, not just at home or in your relationship. So it's really about, first and foremost, understanding how you're wired, and then beginning to explore those around you. I've done corporate packages where I've individually read everybody's human design charts, and then we've come together for an afternoon of like a bit of a retreat, and just then going through and sharing some information in ways that these teams can support themselves better, more efficiently. And it's really, really fun and powerful to see that happen in teams in the corporate world. So I think that's all I really wanted to say around that. It's just a beautiful system that is not another thing, like another box to put yourself in. What I love about human design, when you are, how do I say this? Like when you're learning it from somebody who is using it and sharing it with you in what I think to be the correct way, which is highlighting the higher expressions and all the gifts you have in your chart, and showing you maybe where there's places that you can work on or what the lower expressions are. But nothing in this chart is supposed to be limiting. We all have free will. You can choose to use whatever information you desire to take from it, or leave what doesn't land with you. But it's like shining a light on how you're energetically wired. And if you choose to use it, you're going to get in your magic lane faster. You don't have to do it. You know, if you think about a GPS, and you can go from A to B this way, or you can go from A to B this way, you're still going to get there. You could still get super rich in your online business. But if you're following your strategy and authority and using your design to your advantage, you're probably going to get there a lot faster, because you're doing things that are in alignment with you. You're doing business your way. You're understanding what you're not really here to speak about, what you're not really here to overcome, what, like, you're also understanding what you're not here to waste your energy on. So you can use your beautiful, powerful energy in the way that it's supposed to be used. So yeah, I think that's everything I had to share with you today, but just, yeah, really understanding your energy is powerful. And that's how it becomes less stressful in life, because you just get to be who you are and not fight between who you think you should be and who you're showing up as, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love this. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm booking my appointment now because I mean, this is just phenomenal, right? It's almost like well, it's way more complex and deeper than just, you know, the personality tests that a lot of companies will do for their employees. And yeah, that's beneficial too. But I still think that this is really important for us to know, because yeah, when we think we're supposed to be acting a certain way or doing this or doing that, like it does, I mean, it creates so much stress and anxiety. So I love this. And I love that you're so passionate about it. I mean, you can just see it like coming out of you that it's, you know, made such a difference. And I mean, I've known you for a little while now, and even just to see I mean, I follow you obviously on Instagram, and just to see the difference in the posts and the, you know, sometimes I'll go on and watch your story and I'm like, oh, it's exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you, Joanna.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's impacted me in a big way, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially too for people who, you know, like myself or I mean, all of us in business, we all have that like imposter syndrome too, right? Or, you know, where we think we're not good enough or we're not doing a good enough job. So I would love to see how that could help, you know, benefit and give you that confidence, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, what I find is, like, of course, I still feel things, or like have the fear or feel like an imposter sometimes, but it really has allowed me to like tune in to then, why is this showing up? And it's like, sometimes it's just a fear that needs to be moved through. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like an imposter because I'm trying to replicate somebody else's thing, and I'm just totally way out of my lane. What am I doing?
Yes.
Because I'm a human having a human experience. Like, it doesn't stop you from having your human experience per se. And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, I wasn't following my strategy and authority. I was allowing like other pieces to come in and push me in a way that was out of alignment for me. No judgment. I'm human. And then you just constantly realign. And that's why I'm like, it's always a journey. It's not a set it and forget it program we're on here. It's like, realign, recenter. It's the same as, you know, like with food too. Like when we can stop just like beating ourselves up and we just are like, oh, I was off track here. No big deal. Recenter, realign. I feel like it allows us to be so much more gentle with ourselves and not push ourselves so hard.
Exactly. And then having that acceptance too just lowers your anxiety, and you can move forward. Do you think that it would help? I'm just curious, for individuals, you know, who are struggling, you know, thinking like, what is their purpose? What is the point of this life? You know, kind of lost souls to think, is this all I'm doing, is working day to day to day, and that's it?
Yeah.
And then it's over?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I have goosebumps because there is pieces of your chart that actually like are life purpose, soul purpose, that we pull out and explore sometimes in the first or the second session. But what it really starts doing is like, your life purpose is not what you do. It's not what you do. It's who you are. And so when you start seeing that, like, oh my God, is my life purpose just doing this job every day? No, it's not your life purpose. Maybe it's what you need to do right now. But when you can start pulling the energy of like, oh, what I'm supposed to bring to this job is the essence of who I am. And when we start to explore that through the lens of human design, it's so empowering, because it just, I don't know, it just reminds people to like remember on a soul level, like, oh yeah. And those things that I don't think are a big deal about myself, because they come easily to me because they're my gifts, are exactly what you should be focusing on. Society is always like, well, that comes easy to you. Okay, do that on the weekend and the evenings. Now go work really, really hard at something you don't like to become something you don't even want to become.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna have to book my appointment before you book up now, because everyone's gonna be like, I need this.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So just quickly here, if any of you who are attending today have any questions, feel free to just pop them in the chat. I do have a few questions here for you. We can just go over. We've got a few minutes here.
Sure.
Questions. There we go. All right. So, I mean, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what happens in a session?
Yeah. So like logistically, you book and you give me all the information that I require, and then I generate your chart, and then we have 75 minutes together, and it can be like as interactive or as passive as you desire. You either can just listen for 75 minutes, or some people have a lot of questions and we really dialogue through things and work through things, right? It's completely up to you. And in the initial session, we go through like your energy type, your strategy, your authority, some openness in the chart, these things called profiles, and then some of the gates and channels. Like I could probably read your chart for 8 hours. So we start with like the most key pieces and players, and then often people will go away and integrate for a while, and then are like, okay, I want to know more. I'm ready to learn more. And then there's always room to have another session if you want. Or some people just feel like so complete and empowered with like one session and have the information they need, and they're golden. I mean, wow. To not like never have issues. I just mean they have enough information, and knowing about their chart is enough to feel like their journey is good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It can be one little thing. I remember a psychologist once just sat me down, just like, so you're an introvert? And I was like, I am. And then, you start looking into it and you're like, oh, okay, this makes so much sense. And you said, like, I'm okay the way I am, and things like that. So I can imagine that this is just like, beyond. And then just one more question quickly here. So can I use it to get info on my business or a love life?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I guess I had said, like, you know, in relationships. So it can be powerful because there are places in our chart where we can see like what I really value in my relationships. And so when I'm not getting it, why I'm feeling the way I am, and even sharing with partners, like, this is actually what I really desire. I desire depth. I really desire having these conversations, or I like spontaneity is in this part of my chart, or whatever it is. I mean, there's so many different things it could be, but it really helps just give information about what's important to you. And in business, yeah, I mean, there's money markers in the chart. So it's like, how am I supposed to make money in an aligned way? You know?
Yeah.
Again, it's all about self-trust, because the answers come from within. It's about, how do I use my energy properly to kind of uncover these things? But yeah, definitely in business, what you're here to speak about, what you're here to communicate about, where money markers are in the chart, where values are in the chart, where your lessons are in the chart, where your blessings are going to come to you in the chart, right? So yeah, it can be used for all areas of life.
Yeah, I love it. No, I'm so excited. So this is your contact information. Your website's great. So if anyone has any, questions or wants to check it out a little bit more, they can definitely go to your website. It's beautiful as well. And then I always recommend, I say, follow Joanna on Instagram at Well and Nurse Life. Amazing posts and inspiration and positivity. So it's always just nice to have those throughout the day.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much again. I mean, you spoke last year, and I'm, just amazed by it. And I could listen to you speak for hours, so I'm sure others could as well. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join again today. And just continue doing what you're doing and making a difference in this world, because we really need it right now.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Scarpino with Healing with Brittney. So she is an intuitive coach, teacher, and healer, focusing on guiding individuals into becoming the most empowered version of themselves. She is driven by the notion that when one can become free and empowered within themselves, there's no stopping the beautiful potential they can reach. Through energetic and embodiment practices alongside her own curated step-by-step processes, she guides others into becoming free from their blind spots and hindrances in order to become their most sovereign and defined self. For more passion, purpose, and life fulfillment, become your own self-healer, live a beautiful life, and watch as you soar into unimaginable heights. I love this, Brittany. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
So go ahead.
Yeah, it's so fitting that this morning has sort of been about purpose, because sort of the core of my mission is that to help people step forward in their mission work and their purpose, but coming into alignment first, so that you can fully do that and move forward. And so I say, I help people come into mind, body, soul sort of alignment. And like, what does that mean? And, for example, if you feel like crap all the time and you don't feel well, you're burned out, how easily is it going to be for you to move forward? If you're feeling lethargic, you're not sleeping well, you're just feeling cloudy, and how are you going to gain the clarity even and the inspired sort of insights to really gain momentum and move into what you really want? So, if for those that are feeling stuck in their current position and they want to, be in their purpose, and there sometimes is this step that does need to take place in that alignment piece within, the inner and outer alignment piece. So, it's about gaining the clarity within. You can gain so much clarity within when you do come into alignment and make more actions that are sort of aligned from within, and to help you kind of move forward. So, and so one part of this piece of, the misalignment is, for example, when we are consuming things all the time that we know are not good for us, or just we're feeling tired all the time, and coming into alignment with what it is your body really wants in each moment. So it can become so many different things, like what you're eating, your input and output of energy, for example, and just so many patterns and blocks that we may have within ourselves that we just don't know, that are actually keeping us stuck and really holding us down from moving forward into the purpose work and into just that inner alignment. That's also, part of what I do, is helping people break down these blocks and aspects in their life that maybe we all have, that we don't see, and patterns that we're running that are kind of keeping us where we are when we really desperately want to like move into something else. So part of what I will also be speaking about today is just sort of some of these patterns or habits that we may have. So the one piece was the input and output of energy, for example. So when we are so often, striving in our day and putting out so much work and constantly doing and the time deadlines and things like that, just putting excess pressure on us, it's just a huge way we can become burned out. And if we're not looking at that's the output of energy. If we're not balancing our output of energy with our input, which I think, so many of us in a 9-to-5 hustle mentality have done for many years, not taking that time for us to take a step back and really nourish ourselves and rest when we need rest, recuperate how is best for us, and really balancing that piece, instead of going on overdrive all the time and just the excess output of energy. And so this is just a huge piece, for myself and how I have, and have worked towards coming into this, overcoming burnout and balancing act, is really paying attention to what I need in each moment. And when I am, walking too fast for what my body physically needs to feel nourished, or when I'm exercising in just a wacky way that's just not what my body even is benefiting from today, for example. Our body ebbs and flows, and what we need changes so much based on stress and our thoughts bringing us down and giving us anxiety, and that. So how we tend to inputting, like giving us that energy within, can change. And it's just important to recognize when we get stuck in habits that are not keeping us nourished, essentially. So, but again, this is just a piece of coming into alignment and recognizing and checking in with what we need. So now the amazing benefit that comes from recognizing this inner balance is you just gain that. You gain so much more clarity on what you really benefit from, and what really makes you feel grounded and rested and at ease. And sometimes it's things we didn't think would do that for us. Sometimes it could be something you never thought of doing, a particular type of activity, and you're like, wow, this really puts me in a really nice state. And not only am I now in this beautifully relaxed state or inspired state, but now I'm starting to feel momentum or gaining inspired ideas on how I can move forward, or just gaining happiness and just gaining passion again. So it's also just not stopping at your some patterns that not stopping at sort of activities you currently do, but engaging in new things and trying out new things that could excite you or that could be more in alignment with you in any given moment. So the other big piece and a pattern that many people, including myself, have is people pleasing tendencies or habits, and just sort of, and especially at work, when we take on too much and do too much, and how that depletes us over time. And this is a piece of alignment as well, in that, when we do more than we're capable of, and how that impacts us in the long term, and how that impacts our own ability to pursue our own passions and purpose. And it's all encompassing, and there's so many areas where we could be slowly held back and our energy slowly kind of drained. So and when I think of living a purpose, I just feel, you're feeling good on the inside and out, and your outer life reflects, your inner life reflects your outer life, as well. So if I imagine it being that we're all, we have a beautiful, exciting life, and we feel that on the inside as well. And but again, if we're not quite in the inner part yet, we just might have some work to do. But it's just a beautiful process, because you just learn so much about yourself. And so the other big piece is just the over hustling, and just recognizing that, and understanding why people may be overdoing, overgiving, that kind of thing. And you can gain so much empowerment, because you can learn to say no when you want to say no, or put out less work when you feel it's not going to serve you. And these are just some habits for myself that I know have really served me along my way. So, and a big piece is, putting attention onto yourself and your own needs. And because so often we may be focusing on other things, other people, other whatever it is, and we've lost the connection to ourselves and what we want, and what our own goals are, but really what we want, and focusing on our own needs as well, is in any given moment, but in general. Okay, maybe not in every given moment, because we have a lot of other things to engage with, and support to provide, but just a gentle encouragement, because it's been an encouragement for myself of when I have encouraged myself to just sort of focus back on myself and what I really want. It has been incredibly empowering and helpful. And it's also given me more time to focus on my own dreams and purpose and life, and living a more beautiful life. Like, live your life, like, live your dreams. What are your dreams? What do you really want in life? And I just feel, being that, the idea of so many people are kind of switching positions now and focusing on what they truly want. Like, now is the time, if that feels right for you, and kind of forget, not put blinders on, but just forget about the other stuff and just focus on you and your needs. Because I feel that, for myself, and I have, witnessed it as well, but I have witnessed, myself not focusing on my life and my dreams and my desires. And then, it's almost like you don't have anyone, not that you don't have anyone else to blame, but it's like, this is your opportunity to step forward and move forward, essentially. So just taking like your own power back and the control back for your own life, and like holding your goals and your purpose and your dream in your own hands in a beautiful way, like gently, like, this is your beautiful purpose. So, like, nourish yourself, but nourish it while being patient with it, and and that's how you can move forward. And it's just such a passion area for me, is helping others get to a point that they are able to pursue their dream life and live that life as well. So that's my main piece. And I know there were some questions that Kelly may ask at the end too. So just, in general, living more beautifully and a more empowered life is focusing on yourself, paying attention to your own life. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love this, Britt. I mean, this completely resonates with me. And, this is the great thing about this summit, is that we're all kind of speaking the same thing, find out. And it's not about being stressed out. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? But find out what aligns with you. And, I loved how you talked about listening to your body, and what feels good, and what maybe doesn't feel good. When you said, especially the part about the exercise, because I can completely relate to it, even though we think that we're supposed to be exercising, and if we want to, get fit or get healthy, we need to like do these high intensity programs. Well, it took me years too to realize like that just doesn't align with my body. And even to bring it one step further, because and I'm sure Lindsay won't mind me mentioning her case. But for those of you who don't know my sister, who was an ultra marathon runner, pushed and pushed and pushed. And, she even admits now that she wasn't listening to her body and she would be tired and just push through. And, she, not to say this was 100% the cause, but she ended up with, stage 4 cancer and at a young age. And now it's been interesting to see her journey back to health, right? She's listening more, and if she's tired, she'll rest. So I think that's important. I like when you say that, because a lot of us don't even think of something as simple as exercising not aligning with us, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so let's see if anyone has any specific questions. Feel free to type them out. Okay, I have one here. So one of the attendees says, I find most people at my work are somewhat fearful or worried about the repercussions of letting management know that they are overworked or taking on too much. But I find the reality is that most good companies / managers will respect and appreciate letting them know. But for most people, it's really hard to communicate the issue of taking on too much, but without doing so, you can't get aligned. Right? So it sounds like they're saying, yeah. I mean, have you come across clients like that, Brittany?
Yes, I mean, I can completely relate to this. It's a balancing act, and I think if the first thing you can do is take care of your own self first. So like, first, not ignoring what you need in a moment. Like, are you even comfortable in your chair? Like, let's start with little things. Like, how can you just be more comfortable at work within your body? Are you drinking the right fluids? Are you drinking, like, what is it that you just simply need to feel good in the body? The food, the timing of eating, the beverages, the breaks. Do you need to lay down? Do you need to do weird things at work to feel good? Okay, whatever. Maybe you need to just lay down on a yoga mat or stretch or dance or shake it out or something like that. Like, if you have to have this current workload, although I don't, I don't want anyone to have this crazy workload, including myself, but because I'm also in senses, I have dealt with this, but yeah, just first maybe see if you can have a break in some way, or things can be alleviated, expressing concerns, of course, but noticing what your body needs and how you could cope. Again, the best you can, but communicating without, I don't want to say communicating without fear, but in a gentle way, just expressing with someone you trust, how can you navigate your current situation despite what's going on? Problem solving, see what they can do for you, and I'm sure you can think of ideas that could serve you. But
yeah, and I think too, Britt, even in my own experience, people are afraid to speak up and say when they're overworked, but to be honest, once they do, they're actually more respected, right? When people are I'm a big advocate for, like, don't work overtime, don't work for free, manage things within your day as you're supposed to, and ask for help if you need it. And to be honest, like, if you don't, your employer isn't going to complain that you're working really hard. Right? They're just going to keep letting you do what you're doing. And so, yeah, I think people don't realize that when they do speak up, that shows that they value themselves, and therefore they need that respect back, and they get it. So,
well, yeah, like, if the value comes from within as well, you got to value your body and your time. And I'm a huge proponent of, like, advocating for yourself as well, in as gentle way as possible. Someone doesn't know how hard things are for you, possibly, or how disempowered you feel. And so sometimes communication, or just sometimes people just don't know what's going on. Really, they don't know how it's affecting you. That's huge too.
Yeah. And then if you don't say anything, it just builds and builds and builds. And next thing you know, you blow up.
Yeah.
And then that's not a good thing. Then you get fired.
Yeah, I don't want that. Or maybe you do, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So another question here, what are some quick ways to ease feelings of burnout?
Yeah, I guess we touched on some, but taking rest, definitely rest, and laying down. I mean, if rest for you is certain things, but for me is definitely like laying down in the middle of the day when I started working from home. But yeah, more rest. Yeah, more getting out of my mind is the hugest part, probably. Working in front of a computer and in my brain all the time, and like getting out and expanding my vision and looking outside and just getting out of my head is just a huge way. Our thoughts just can tear us down in every way. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then how can I gain some insight into my current situation?
yeah, so I guess in terms of when I touched on how this relates to purpose and just sort of gaining clarity, and when you feel really bogged down perhaps by like the world around you or just by everything you're doing, sometimes it can be unclear what your next steps could be. And so creating space for yourself away from everybody and everything, gaining silence, journaling, but just silence and space and nature can be really helpful in gaining clarity. And sometimes things come through. Sometimes you just need that rest and that space. And space is everything. So that's a big way. So.
And last question, do you have any tips for improving sleep?
Well, all of this from experience, has improved my sleep. And the more you rest during the day, because the activity is also important. So managing stress during the day can really help you at night, but proper nighttime routines, winding down properly, relaxing, just paying attention to what you do before bed and what's stimulating, and just winding down with a peaceful sort of routine, perhaps. But paying attention to what's going on during the day as well, and where your activity has gone, and like overactivity perhaps.
And getting outside helps your exposure to the light, which then also helps you sleep too.
There's so many things, millions of things to do. Yeah, those are just some things. Outside, getting outside and walking and movement is also really important.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sharing now where people can get in touch with you. Again, Instagram's great because we can follow everyone's stories, and it's just nice sometimes to look at, for example, your feed and Joanna's feed and just kind of get that moment of inspiration. So definitely, if you're not following Brittney, do, because you'll enjoy. Always some great tips, and there's a lot of great services now that you're offering. And I left this up from last year, Brittney. Can people still book a phone call with you just to chat and see if it might be a good fit?
Yeah, so I'm currently offering these free calls to empowerment. So if anything, if you feel like you do need help moving forward, or you want to uncover some barriers for yourself and just sort of focus on freedom, and book a call with me, and then we can uncover some things and go from there, and help you kind of just work through things. But just schedule the call if you feel called.
And I think that's always a big thing, right? Just book the call. There's no pressure. Just it's nice to know, do you align with that person, and can they help you in your journey? So thank you so much, Brittney. Again, it was wonderful to have you speak with us today. And for those of you who want to get in touch, just do it. If you have the calling, the feeling to get in touch with Brittney, definitely do it. All right. Well, thank you. And that's me. I'm up next. Thanks, Britt. We'll talk soon. I am going to speak on COVID and working from home. Obviously, this is the trend right now, and all of us can definitely use a few tips here and there to help stay healthy mentally, physically, emotionally. So for those of you who don't know me, just a bit of a background here. I am a registered nurse. I'm also a certified holistic nutritionist. I spent 10 years in public health, so lots of learnings there, working from, infants, and then in parts of my career working up all the way up to seniors as well. Really now, so some of you know me as owner of Belle, Live Beautiful, which is who we're hosting the webinar through today, but I also have another company called Collaborative Corporate Health. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So really, it's just about giving 3 simple ways to stay healthy. I have a lot of great speakers today, and I really don't want to overlap with any of them. You're going to hear a lot of detailed information. So I just thought I'd keep it simple, because I think that small, realistic changes that fit into your lifestyle are really the ones that are going to stick and going to make a difference in the long term. So these are the 3 things we're going to talk about today. Number 1, don't be afraid to ask for help. This, is something that a lot of people struggle with, is admitting when they need help and being okay with asking for it. So with the current situation, the pandemic is taking an emotional toll on people in Canada, as 77% of adults report feeling so-called negative emotions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Duh. The 5 most common responses are across Canada were worried or anxious, bored, stressed, lonely, isolated, or sad. Yeah, definitely feeling that. I've been working from home now exclusively for the past 2 years and part-time the year before that. So it does take its toll. And I just wanted to share a few tips that I've learned even over the couple of years to help get by. So I thought this was interesting. I actually have a corporate wellness program to support people working from home, and it's a monthly subscription program. So last week I did a webinar and I did a poll asking how people are doing. So the 81% of people answered they're just getting by. And just to let you know, the other options were feeling better than ever. No one answered that. I didn't know I could feel this bad. No one answered that, but you kind of wonder if they're just getting by. Did they just not want to admit that they're feeling really bad? And then the other that had a few answers was no change. So no change could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, right? Just depends. But I was actually quite surprised that this was the average answer. And I thought to myself, is this all we want? Do we just want to be getting by, or do we want to, find some ways to thrive? So a couple things that we can do, utilize. And when I say utilize, I mean utilize your employee assistance programs. So many organizations, especially the larger ones, they do have some great options out there. And surprisingly, I got Rita had mentioned to me that she's seen the numbers, and unfortunately, a lot of these programs are not utilized at all with companies. So companies are spending this money to allow you to have resources, for mental health, physical support, nutrition support, but a lot of people aren't using those. So it's good to just kind of find out what's available to you, and is this something that you could benefit from? So talk to your employer. And if you are an employer, talk to your employees, right? We don't always know what's going on with someone, and we can't just assume that because they're showing up for work and that they're doing their work that everything's okay. People often will struggle inside and not mention it to anyone. So that's where I said, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of resources out there for you now. And lean on family, friends, coworkers. Just know that you're not alone. And I find this really important too, with the current situation that we're in, and things have changed, right? Even I'm finding myself 2 years ago, I would have plans every weekend to get out and do something that was just part of the routine. And now, I'm feeling definitely like it's a lot of work these days to get showered and put on your makeup and get dressed and go out. But when you do, I'm always surprised at how much better you feel. Last weekend, I met a friend and we went and had a pedicure and some champagne together. You know, it was really good just to kind of break the normal routine, get out, talk to some friends, and it takes you out of your mind, especially when you're working from home. You may notice that you're just in your head all day long. And then lastly, you know, find things that make you positive. This is something that I've focused on a lot lately, and I've never been a big podcast person because my impression of podcasts is they're focusing on the negative things of what's going on out there. And you know, well, I won't get into any details about that, but there are so many positive podcasts out there to help you, you know, cope with what's going on. YouTube also has a lot of great videos, and it may sound cheesy, but like Tony Robbins, there's some great 10 minutes videos that you can watch, and it will really lift your spirits. Even one of the workouts that I do, which I'll give you the link later on, but yesterday I woke up and I just was not feeling into it, but I put on the video and the instructor was like, you know, just so positive, saying, you know, you're here, you're already a winner, you've hit play, you know, and then it really shifted my energy for the rest of the day. And it is, you know, working on mindset. I can honestly admit that, you know, I've struggled with that over the years, and you have to kind of find what resonates with you. Everybody's different, right? You know, some people meditate, some people do yoga, some people go see a counselor, but one thing isn't going to work for everybody. So just because you tried one thing and it didn't work, doesn't mean that something else isn't going to work and isn't going to resonate with you. And I really can't stress this enough, but limit exposure to media. My husband can attest to the fact that every time the news comes on, I can't handle it. It's all like, this is all they talk about, right? COVID, numbers, stats, hospitalization, like all of this stuff. And it's just too much. You know, if you miss the news for one day, are you going to really miss out on what's happened? Probably not. And even if something did change, is it going to affect you? Probably not. So, you know, let's just try to limit the amount of time that we're spending listening to the news and this negative, the negative energy that unfortunately surrounds our situation. You know, instead, like I said, listen to something positive, read a book, just kind of try to limit the amount of exposure we have to media, because you know what? It's blown out of proportion. I can tell you 100%, I worked for 10 years as a public health nurse, giving vaccinations. And I can tell you some of the stuff that they're talking about is just completely blown out of proportion. And it's really unfortunate because it's creating a lot of stress and anxiety out there. And, you know, if you do need help and you don't want to go through your employee assistance program, because I know that although your employer, you know, tells you that it's confidential, and it is, I know there are some people who are a little bit uncertain and just, you know, would rather not utilize those services just in case. So there are, you know, these are some of the Calgary or Alberta numbers and contacts, but there's always something out there for you and just someone to talk to, right? Number 2, optimize your nutrition. This is a big one. As Brittany was saying before, you know, what we put in our bodies and how it makes us feel is really going to contribute to our energy throughout the day, our positivity throughout the day. So we really need to look at how we can optimize it best. And you know, good nutrition will help you immensely when it comes to combating diseases that are genetically programmed to occur. I don't think a lot of people are aware of this, but just because you have, you know, cancer, heart disease, diabetes in your genetics, it doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. And there are things that you can do to help turn those genetics off so that you aren't dealing with those chronic diseases. So I don't think there's necessarily enough awareness about the power of good nutrition. And if you're going to do anything, this is always my biggest tip. People know me for like the no sugar girl. And when I talk about sugar, I mean refined sugars, right? The really sugars that are just not good for our bodies. There are so many healthy options out there. There are so many ways around it. And I'll give you some tips too on how you can improve your type of sugar. And it's hidden. I'm telling you, like you wouldn't believe the amount of sugar in some foods. So why? Well, this is one of my biggest pet peeves about the information out there about COVID, right? They're all about touting vaccine. Yes, absolutely. It has been helpful. However, a vaccine can only do so much. It will never be 100%. We need to take control and do something for ourselves. And one thing is sugar. It really will reduce your body's ability to fight off chronic disease and acute illness. And a lot of people don't realize either that the amount of sugar in a day really should not exceed 6 teaspoons. And I have the conversion there to grams because most food companies put the measurement in grams because we can't really visualize the amount of sugar. If you said 24 grams, I don't know what that looks like. But if you told me 6 teaspoons, okay, I get a better idea of what that looks like. So I'm not talking about naturally occurring sugars, just the refined sugars. That being said, I wouldn't suggest artificial either, but that's a whole nother topic. And I mean, look at this. So you go to your favorite coffee shop, you grab a coffee and you think, oh, I'm going to have a banana bread. That sounds like something simple and light. Well, a grande vanilla latte or any kind of flavored drink and banana bread, that's like 20 teaspoons of sugar is an insane amount. And we need to, find little ways to cut down. And you can, again, this is something that I talk about in so many of my other webinars on nutrition, but don't be afraid to modify, right? If you want half sweet, that means they're going to put half the amount of pumps of sugar or syrup in your drink. So just be cautious. I would suggest swapping your sugar. If you want to go for a no calorie sweetener, stevia. Now, that being said, stevia kind of, a lot of the companies jumped on the stevia bandwagon and now offer stevia sweetened products. However, I think there's a lot of other things in there. It's not just the stevia anymore. But, things like honey, especially local unpasteurized honey, 100% maple syrup is a really good option to sweeten things. And then if you're baking, coconut palm sugar, as well as sucanat, are sugars that still have the nutrients in them that your body knows how to work with it a little bit better. So when we have the really refined sugars like white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, things like that, it just spikes our blood sugar right through the roof. And then we tend to come crashing down later. So there are so many other options out there. This is amazing to me. So 20% of all cancers could be avoided if people increase their vegetable and fruit intake to at least 5 servings a day. So not increasing it by 5 servings a day, just 5 servings a day. And that's really not much. If you look at, say, blueberries, for example, half a cup, which is like minimal, is a serving. So it really doesn't take much to kind of boost that intake of your fruits and vegetables. And it's worth it. Trust me. So how can you do this? Well, the biggest thing is we need to be prepared for the week. And, some weeks are harder than others, but if we can somehow just plan for the week what we're going to have. And you know what? It doesn't have to be exciting. I'm all about simple. I don't like to cook at all. And when I do, it's very simple. So if you can plan even to cook 3 days of the week, and then have the other leftovers on the other 2 days, say Monday to Friday, that's going to be so much better for you. And if you're prepared, then you're obviously going to make, healthier meals. And now we can order everything online, because I admit I do not like going grocery shopping either. And so now that we're able to order online, I mean, that makes life so much easier. And I don't know about you, but I, tend to get some things from Walmart, some things from, Blush Lane, some things from Safeway. And now I don't have to run around to 3 different locations. I order it, it comes to me easy. And you can just repeat your orders too. And add a reminder in your phone. I have to do this too, to take out, if you're a meat eater, to thaw, because that's always the biggest problem. If I forget during the day, 3 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, oh, I forgot to take meat out to thaw. Oh, well, I guess I'm just going to order in. So it's really good if we can kind of plan ahead and take some things out early. And if you don't like cooking like me, there are so many healthy options now that you can order on all those apps, right? The next one will show the slide of some examples, but there are a number of places out there. When you do get groceries, if you don't buy it, so if you don't buy those cookies, that ice cream, those chips, you're less likely to eat it or drink it, right? If you don't have it in the house and you all of a sudden have a craving for chips or chocolate, if it's not there, maybe you'll look for something else in your house that's a little bit healthier that will still satisfy you. And I'm telling you, even if you buy it and you hide it, it will talk to you. I've done that before where, baking cookies, for example, cookies are like my downfall, or my favorite, I guess, when it comes to baked goods. But if I bake cookies and put them in the freezer or hide them, it doesn't matter. I can hear them talking to me throughout the day. So that just doesn't work either. And it's harder to stop yourself when you know it's there, right? You're like, just have a little bit. Others will find it. Yes, I have this problem with sometimes hiding my husband's favorite goodies on him, but he does end up finding it. And don't go to the grocery store hungry. I'm telling you, that's the worst thing. And I know it sounds like such a simple tip, but if you are going grocery shopping, make sure you eat before you go. And if you do buy something for a party, throw it out. Yes, I know it sounds wasteful, but I can tell you when it comes to chips, and sorry, Chris, I'm using you as an example a lot, but if I buy chips, for example, for guests or a party, and well, first of all, before the party, he'll find them. I'll find him in the pantry eating them. And then after, if I don't throw them away, he'll find them and he'll eat them. And don't even just throw the bag in the garbage, but I actually have to dump it out and then put the bag in the garbage because, when those cravings hit, you'll do whatever you can to satisfy it. Another thing that you can do, even if you're working from home, is pack your lunches and snacks. I still do this. I'll pack my lunch for Monday to Friday. I'll have my snacks portioned out and ready to go because, the day gets away from us. And before you know it, like you're busy and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime and I have a meeting in 10 minutes. What am I going to do? So if you have it ready to go, you're going to grab it. It's going to be so much easier for you. And, keep in mind, do it in a Monday to Friday thing. It doesn't have to be every single day of the week, but at least keeping a routine kind of the Monday to Friday will help that 80-20 rule, right? And it really will keep your blood sugars stable. So when you're eating regularly throughout the day and you're eating well-proportioned, healthy meals and snacks, your blood sugar is going to stay stable and you're not going to have those cravings later on in the afternoon or the evening. That's a big thing that so many of my clients come to me for is they say, oh, I snack at night. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't stop snacking at night. And it's often because they're not eating enough during the day or the right balance, and therefore they're having those cravings at night. And it will help keep your mind sharp and focused. I mean, I have to eat every couple hours or I'm crashing, literally. So it's going to help keep you focused on your day. You're going to be, doing what you need to do in all your meetings, and you're just going to feel so much better overall, energy-wise. And for the kids too, if you have kids, with the situation, if they are going to be and end up being homeschooled, or if they're quarantining, if you've got stuff ready for them, then that helps you, right? You're not having to leave your work or your meeting to go and get something ready for the kids. Obviously depends how old they are, but when you have it ready for them to go, it's healthy, they're not running to you like pulling on your leg for a snack. And here are some of my favorites. So in Calgary, for example, I know there are some of these are national or international restaurants as well, but these are some of my favorite. And for those of you who live in Calgary, particularly in the Southwest, number one I have is Dedicate. I can't promote them enough. I just think they're a fabulous, fabulous company. And they have like ready to go meals, as well as, if you, like me, hate cooking, you can get just the prep for the week. So you could get like a container of broccoli and a container of rice and a container of chicken, and then you kind of mix it how you want to, or add sauces. So it's a really good option. If you haven't tried it, try it. They're on DoorDash too. And then there are a number of other great options out there. There's more coming along every few months, it seems. So really, there's not much for excuses. Like I remember, even five years ago, the only thing, decently healthy out there was Subway. So yeah, there's a lot more options now. And number 3, cleanse your immune system. Again, I'm going to continue to tell people that the more you can boost your immune system, the better off you are going to be, not only for preventing COVID, regardless of how many vaccines you have, you need to boost your immune system, and you need to cleanse it as well. A lot of people don't realize that the lymph system doesn't have a pump. So like the cardiovascular system, you have a heart that pumps your blood and cleans it every time it makes its rounds through. Well, in order to pump your lymph system and clean that, you need to contract your muscles. That's what's going to, keep the blood flowing and move things around. And even simple things. I mean, as you can see, I'm standing up this whole time. It doesn't take a lot of extra effort, but it really does help just contract those muscles a little bit. And this is kind of a long slide, but it just talks about how exactly this works. So it flushes bacteria out of the lungs when we're breathing heavy. It can reduce your chances then of getting colds and flus and COVID. It changes the antibodies and your white blood cells, right? There's a brief rise in body temperature, which, as we know, when we're sick, we get a fever, and that's our body's way of fighting off whatever's happening. And it also slows down the release of stress hormones, right? We, when we're chronically stressed or acutely stressed, our cortisol levels go up and it just kind of sticks around. So it's really good to help balance things out. And we're going to have someone later on today at 1 p.m. talk, actually 2 people, a naturopath and dietitian, basically, talk more about this. So if you can join, please do. They're going to go into lots of detail. But don't overdo it. Just because some is good doesn't mean more is better. Like Brittany was saying, we need to listen to our bodies. Obviously, we need to push ourselves to some extent to get our blood flowing and breathing, but we don't want to push it to the point where we're getting injured. And sometimes when we exercise too intensely for too long, that can actually increase our body's release of cortisol and stress. It kind of goes back to that fight or flight. So although some exercise is good and intensity is good, but we just want to really balance it out. And this is going to be different for everybody, right? Some people are like born to run for days and hours. Well, that's not me. I need something a little less intense, but really listening to your body and getting to know what it needs. And sometimes the over-exercising can decrease our immune systems. Now that's, to the point where, someone's doing it maybe obsessively. And then even just, like I said, walking, standing, stretching, those little things really, really add up. And consistency over intensity every time. If you're killing yourself on an exercise to the point where you're so sore the next day you can't move, are you going to exercise or move your body? Probably not. So we need to, yes, it's okay to be a little bit sore, but you don't want to kill yourself or injure yourself to the point where you could only do it like once a week. And there's a ton of free workouts at home. Like I was saying, one of my favorites is Team Body Project. So they have a lot of free videos on YouTube, but if you sign up, they have a whole library of exercises. They're just really fun. They're positive people. They're funny. They laugh at their mistakes, and they have some people with them working out who are not fitness trainers and, are taking breaks like me and, bending over, breathing, that kind of thing. And then Jerry Love, she's actually local to Calgary. She's now got her line of workout videos, Get Ripped. I think she has Get Ripped on Demand or something along those lines. She's got it available on demand. So honestly, if I had to pack up and go to the gym, I would never go. So if you can work it at home, you don't need a lot of space. Yes, you can look stupid. No one else sees you. You don't have to do your hair, whatever, like you would to go to the gym. Just move your body. And also do things that you enjoy, right? Like not everyone likes the same thing. Just because people think, oh, we should be running. Well, that's not for everybody. Sometimes that makes things worse for people. Some people are good with yoga, biking, whatever it is that makes you feel good. And as long as you're out moving, and if you can get fresh air while you're doing it, even better. And I just want to leave you with this. Remember, it is not selfish to love yourself, take care of yourself, and make your happiness a priority. It is necessary. If we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to take care of anyone else, right? So don't feel bad about doing things for yourself when you need to. If you need additional help, definitely you can follow me on all of the different platforms. I post different tips all of the time. I also, like I said, have my working from home subscription program now. It's only $5 a month. There's more details on my website. And if you sign up for that, you actually get 25% off my one-on-one health coaching programs, which are definitely more customized and detailed. Send me an email if you have any questions at all. And that's it. So Brittney is a registered, yes, this is another Brittney. Brittney is a registered provisional psychologist and holds a master's degree in counseling psychology from the City University of Seattle. Brittney primarily works with adults and is knowledgeable in the areas of addiction, anxiety, and depression, burnout, chronic pain, in which she conducted research. Ooh, interesting. Developmental disabilities, phobias, and trauma. Brittney currently works in a private practice in Calgary. Prior to private practice, Brittney worked with the homeless community in Calgary, in which she was able to instill hope and courage into her clients. Love it. That's fantastic, Brittney.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the intro. So I think that pretty much sums it up, that I am a therapist here in the city. I don't know if you're all local or not, but if you are, we're located in Englewood, so just outside of downtown. And I really wanted to touch on managing stress today, just because we have been kind of in this pandemic for a while in one way or another, whether we personally had COVID or know someone who did, or our work was affected, or just we're feeling more kind of anxious than normal. I think it's really important to be able to name and kind of validate those emotions, especially because, again, this has been going on for 2 years and humans are not necessarily designed for that. All right. So just quickly, my agenda today, we'll talk about kind of how to create a routine and what that could look like, how to set some boundaries, which I think, again, has definitely been a hot topic during COVID, and then how to manage expectations, both of ourselves and of those around us. And if at any point you have questions, maybe put them in the chat box, so then at the end, I can try to get to them. I saved about 10 minutes to do some questions. So I guess the first question is, why should we even bother with a routine? And firstly, I think humans are creatures of habit. So when we do the same thing every day, we just know what to expect, and that can reduce some stress because we feel more in control and more confident about what's happening in our day or in our week or in our month. Again, during the COVID-19 pandemic, that's extra helpful to helping us feel like there is some certainty in a time where there has been a lot of unknown. And, there still is a bit of unknown in terms of what does the future look like, or, when will things officially be done or over. Of course, there's some other benefits too. So improved sleep, promoting just healthy habits. So sometimes when we're accountable to a routine, we're just more likely to make decisions that are in line with living that healthy lifestyle. And it can also help prevent burnout, whether that's in a career or a personal life or as a caregiver role. But really the main piece of having this routine is we kind of get ownership over our time again. And we're kind of taking some of that control back that maybe the pandemic took from us. So how to create a routine. I know this might seem simple or common sense, but I think it's really important to sometimes break it down just step by step. So the first is to make a list, and this list would have everything you need to get done, everything you want to get done, everything you're hoping to get done. So basically this is just a big brain dump of anything and everything that you think would be potentially important to have in this routine. This doesn't need to be a certain type of format. I know sometimes people get overwhelmed when we're talking about just dumping everything out. So literally you could grab a scrap piece of paper, or you could have a more structured, worksheet if that worked for you, but doesn't matter, whatever works. The next would then be to structure your day. So I kind of like to structure my day in chunks of morning, afternoon, and then evening. Again, pick a structure that works for you and your lifestyle. And within that structure of your day, kind of think about, okay, when am I maybe most energetic? Or when am I most tired? When am I just already most busy? Maybe I do errands at a certain time of the day, just to help us figure out where can we allot certain tasks within our day. So really we're thinking about what works best, again, for you and your lifestyle. Then we're going to get specific, and this is where we're actually going to assign a task or something from our list into each part of the day. So, maybe if we're talking about the morning, I'm going to wake up at 6:30. I'm going to be at the gym by 7. I'm going to be, back home and showered by 8:30. So actually giving a bit of a time frame to those. Now, it's a fine line. We want to be specific, but also life happens. Sometimes there are unexpected things that come up. So giving yourself a little bit of time for flexibility. So say you're heading home from the gym and you're stuck at a car accident. We don't want that to derail our complete day either. So just making sure we have a few extra moments for unexpected events, or if you're just not feeling well or you have a last minute appointment. And then finally, it's trying out that routine. I usually say to people about a month is a good shot to see if something's working for you. So maybe give it 30 days. How did I feel? What did I like? What did I not like? What was missing? What did I never get done? And then kind of finagle with that routine and see, okay, does anything else need to change? Or do I need to add something in? And then kind of, redo that routine a little bit again. Another 30 days, touch base with yourself. Was this working? Was this not working? And kind of moving forward like that. Again, I think working from home has been a pretty common experience for a lot of us at some point during this pandemic. And so I just wanted to touch on this specifically, just when we're working from home. So if possible, try to have a home office, a space that is designated just for you, just for work, and nothing or nobody else. I recognize this is not always possible. So like I said, if it's not an office, at least a dedicated space. Maybe it's the kitchen table, maybe you have a spare bedroom that you can work out of, things like that. But I recommend that your office should not be your bedroom itself. And the reason for this is if we are spending literally almost 24 hours in it, it can start to feel like it's constantly work when we're trying to sleep, and then our mind doesn't kind of turn off in the same way. If you really do have to work from your bedroom, and I get sometimes we just have no choice, we've got a lot of family members or not a lot of space, then I suggest actually packing up that workspace and removing it from the bedroom when you're done. So closing down your laptop, taking out your notebooks or whatever it is you need, putting it in a bag and maybe putting it in another room. So at least we can try to make that distinction of work time versus bedtime. And then I wrote here at the bottom the Pomodoro technique. And this is just one helpful technique of managing our time. Very simply, it's when we work, whether it's like our career, school work, just trying to focus on a task for day-to-day life, you do it for 25 minutes, no interrupted. So you can set a timer, put your phone away, but no interruptions. And then we take a 5-minute break. So 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest, kind of on and off like that. And then somewhere in the day, so maybe after 3 or 4 sections of that, we'd want to take a longer break. And this is kind of that equivalent of if you had a lunch break or dinner break at work. So maybe it's 25 minutes working and then that longer 25 minutes of no work. Again, to have a bit of a longer break and then back into the 25 and 5. So this is just thought to be a really good amount of time for our brain to stay focused. And then a good amount of time, the 5 minutes, for our brain to kind of quickly reset, decompress, and do what you need to do with those 5 minutes. So next we have boundaries. Again, I think this word has been a lot more common in pop psychology, which is good. I think it's nice to hear about some of these terms more every day. But boundaries are the limits and rules that we set for ourselves within the relationships around us. So this is basically saying this is okay or this is not okay. We can have boundaries with multiple people in multiple settings. So family members, friends, coworkers, at home, at the office, in your car, you might have boundaries. And really, boundaries are a way of communicating our needs to people for the healthy interactions that we're looking for. So there's a lot of different types of boundaries. Boundaries could have things to do with physical contact. So if we think of consent, nope, I'm not comfortable doing this. It can be verbal interactions, right? So certain conversations you don't want to engage in. With the pandemic, we are seeing differing views around the vaccine. So that could be an example. Politics is another great example. And then boundaries with their own personal space. So for example, I don't want people in my bedroom while I'm not home, or I don't want you staying over past 10 o'clock or things like that. So there's all types of categories of boundaries. And I say to people, anything can be a boundary if it's going to be helpful for you. So there's not really a right or wrong way. In terms of how to set boundaries, it's, again, I kind of just broke it down into a bit of a list for us. But the first is determine your borders by examining your rights and needs. So what are your rights in certain situations? Say at a workplace, as an employer, what are you legally actually able to do or not do? And then what are your needs? Again, this part of this is just basic survival needs, of course, but also needs, again, within these different contexts. So what do I need from work to feel safe or comfortable? What do I need from school to be comfortable there? Things like that. And I also like to say, what's just our body or gut telling us? So does something feel off? And maybe we just need to honor that feeling in our body and kind of take action on that. Oftentimes these rights, these needs, our gut feelings is all going to be shaped by our heritage or our culture, the way we were raised or past life experiences that we've been through, maybe the region we live in. So just certain countries, for example, might be more progressive than others or things like that. Our family dynamics, current ones and past ones, etc. So there's going to be a lot coming into this and it will definitely look different from person to person. The second step with setting boundaries is to be assertive. So assertiveness is being kind, but also being firm. So we don't want to be aggressive. We don't need to turn it into swearing or put downs. I do say there's a difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness, even though sometimes it's hard to differentiate. Basically, being assertive is clear language, but it's non-negotiable. It's not allowing someone to come back at you and say, oh, but what about this? So it's very clear about what you are kind of saying and what you're expecting. I have a very simple formula that I like to use, and it's I feel blank. So whatever emotion, I feel hurt when blank. So I feel hurt when you say these things to me because fill in the blank. So, because this is, it's an insult or it's cutting me down as an employer, again, whatever the situation. And then we follow up with what I need is blank. So what I need is for you to express your concerns in a calmer tone, for example. The third is say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to say no and necessarily justify it. You don't need to say no and then go off on a tangent about why your no is okay. You can say no. So again, say someone asks you for your number, or you want to dance. You can say no and that's enough. Or maybe a coworker asks you to cover a shift one night. Again, you can say no if it's not going to work for you, or maybe you just don't even want to because you've been busy. Fourthly is safeguarding your spaces. This is kind of ties back to that piece of the boundaries. So we can have boundaries with our physical space as well. It's not necessarily just with another person about what they can or can't do. So, you know, maybe this is something like a do not disturb feature on your phone. So when you're home, you can feel like your work is still put away and you're resting at home. Another example could be I'm not answering work calls past a certain time when I am at home. So we're kind of safeguarding that space of being home in that example because work is not going to be interrupting that time. And then finally, getting support is needed. So of course, if boundaries aren't being respected, or if you're having a hard time setting boundaries, sometimes just speaking to a professional can be a little bit more helpful to really make sure we're doing things properly, or to make decisions moving forward, again, if boundaries aren't necessarily respected in the way we were hoping. So this was that I feel statement formula that I was talking about. So I feel blank, so typically an emotion, when whatever the situation is, because why is that causing the emotion? And then what I need is blank. So essentially that's proposing an alternative, you know, solution or suggestion to whatever was done. An example, again, I feel violated when you read my journal because I value my privacy. What I need is a space that I can keep private to record my thoughts. Or I feel overwhelmed when every minute of our vacation is planned because I like some spontaneity. What I need is a bit of combinations of some planned events and some days with nothing planned. So those are two examples. Again, boundaries don't necessarily have to be big, big kind of like rules implemented. It can be smaller things like those examples I showed you. If anyone wants to screenshot this, by the way, you are totally welcome to. And then managing expectations. This does go hand in hand with boundaries a little bit. Part of managing expectations typically involves boundary setting to some extent. So expectations can be helpful, but they're only going to be helpful when they're not taking over. So when they influence our thoughts too much, or they're giving into other people's wishes more than our own, then we might notice it starts to negatively impact our well-being, and this could be our physical, mental, or spiritual well-being. So some ways expectations are helpful is it could give us motivation, right? I have an expectation for myself that I want to maybe pass an exam. That will motivate you to study. That'll motivate you to ask questions, to look at different resources, right? Or expectations can help us meet standards, whether standards placed on ourselves from ourselves or standards imposed by others. So maybe it's those workplace reviews periodically. There are expectations that are going to drive us to try and meet those kind of criteria. So some of this, like I said, is going to be similar to boundary setting. And so I do think it's important to recognize that they can go hand in hand, but they also don't have to. So one type of expectation is our own personal expectations. And there's kind of three ways I suggest we could try to manage those. The first is time. So just exactly kind of what it sounds like, giving yourself time, being mindful of your timelines that you're giving yourself when you set goals or have dreams to accomplish, and making sure your timeline is realistic. So sometimes my go-to for these sorts of examples are weight loss. Someone's like, I want to lose 10 pounds right away. Realistically, we can't lose 10 pounds in 5 days. It's unhealthy and it's just pretty unlikely. But we could say, I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months. That averages out to just over a pound a week, for example. So when we have this time that is not realistic, we're going to set ourselves up to fail. Instead, when we allow us the proper timeline, we're actually going to set ourselves up for a lot more success. And that is going to keep us more motivated because we're slowly chipping away at that goal because we've got more time. The second is to be flexible and adapt to change. I think, again, the COVID pandemic has taught us that things are always changing day by day, month by month. It's, hard to predict. And so when things are always changing, it can be easy to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there, right? This has changed, that has changed. Like, how can I possibly keep this goal? So having that ability to be a bit flexible and, change your timelines or change your steps to get to those goals can help us manage that expectation because it's a little bit less rigid. So, sort of that time to pause reconsider, okay, now what? What's plan B? What's plan C? What's plan D maybe? Kind of put that in action and then move forward again from there. And then the third, don't judge yourself harshly. We're all humans. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to slip up. We're all going to have our good days and bad days. That is part of being a human being. That is part of our experience. So, you know, think of yourself. I like to use the analogy of an explorer. So we are explorers going through life. We're going to go through different experiences. We're going to witness different types of events, positive or negative, right? And I think when we kind of view it as an explorer, we're going to take that more curious perspective. So what can this teach me? What can I learn about myself or someone else in this event? If I do slip up, again, what was sort of the silver lining in this, or what's the bigger opportunity to my mistake? And so this kind of helps us lower that overall expectation again, so we don't feel like we're failing, but rather that things are just changing course a little bit. I know this sounds easier said than done. It's definitely, it can be challenging to challenge those thoughts in our mind and want to kind of be more hard on ourselves because, again, we have high standards. So I recognize it's easier said than done, but even trying to start interrupting those thoughts can be really powerful. And then managing other people's expectations. So the first is communicate. And really communicate about everything. The more we can communicate about, the more we're all going to be on the same page. So again, we could talk about this with work. If you don't communicate an expectation you have, or a boss doesn't communicate an expectation they have, we don't really know that we're meeting criteria in a certain way because it hasn't been shared. Same with, you know, school. If a professor tells you write a paper and they give you no context, you don't know the amount of pages, you know, when it's due, if it has to be about a certain topic, we're kind of just blindly going into it. So communicate when you can, get the information that you need, get all the content, get that bigger picture information. So again, we are actually set up to try to meet those expectations instead of blindly going into it. The second is be proactive. This is kind of similar to that idea of being flexible, but again, having a plan in place, but also maybe a plan B or a plan C as needed. And this helps you meet those expectations of others and again, yourself, if things maybe don't go quite as planned. And then thirdly, setting boundaries, which I know we just talked about in detail. So as mentioned, you know, this is a really helpful way to make sure our time is being respected, that we are being valued, and that we're just being clear about what we expect as well. So again, can you get this done by tonight at 5 o'clock and it's already 3 p.m.? No, I can't. In the future, I need you to maybe let me know a little bit earlier, but I can try to get this done by Sunday. So setting boundaries is necessary, and with kind of whoever needs to maybe be involved in those boundaries. And so that was actually perfectly on time. It looks like it's 11:20 right now. So I did just want to open it up to if there are any questions, any concerns, or if you want me to go back to any slides for some screenshots, you can maybe put them in the chat box. I'm not sure if there's a feature for.
Yeah. Yeah, good. That was awesome, Brittany. Well,
Thank you.
I'm just going to, if it's okay, I'm just going to take back control.
Yes, definitely.
And then that way I can post your, there we go, contact information. And then we can chat a bit here. So, give me 1 second. Share. Okay. There we go. So yeah, no, that was fabulous. I loved how you gave just so many concrete, realistic ideas of things that we can do, because sometimes, you know, we are told, yeah, we should say no, or we should do that. But I loved how you're like, you gave that sentence to say no, because I need, etc. So that was really, really helpful. I think that's good for a lot of people to have those tools in their back pocket, because yeah, we all from time to time experience different things in our lives like that. The other thing that I love what you chatted about, especially because working from home and separating our workspace from our living space, if at all possible. And that was a good reminder to say, yeah, some people, depending on, how their house is set up or how many family members live in the home, if it is in your bedroom, like, yeah, close it up at night, because I don't know about you, but my office is not that organized all the time.
Yeah.
So, right, if it was in your like sleeping space, then it's really hard to separate that.
Definitely.
Do you have any suggestions? And this is kind of a personal one. So when it comes to working from home, and I think a lot of us didn't realize the struggles that we were going to have. And even though, we may have a separate office from our living space, separating that work time from your relaxed time, right? Like, and because of the fact that we can't necessarily do those normal things that we used to do you have any examples, maybe other than drinking wine, to separate your work day from your relaxed time?
Yeah. I would say, so I think when we're working from home, it's really easy to kind of work past our normal work time, again, just because it's accessible, or maybe we're waking up a little bit later, so we feel like we have to kind of work a bit longer. I would say try to really stick to whatever that work schedule is. So if you're at the office 8 to 4, then at home, work 8 till 4. Don't work 8 till 7, or, whatever time frame.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, like, even if we can't go do certain things we want to be able to do, even just going for a walk after work and before kind of that relaxing time, again, just to even leave that house a little bit. So it doesn't have to be this big hour-long walk. Even just like 5 minutes around the neighborhood is fine. Or if it's a cold day and you'd rather just go for a quick drive or something instead. But again, just something to still get you out of the house. And kind of that just differential, between work and home. And then, I think just like one common concern I've heard from probably almost every client is, I'm just bored. Like, I can't do the same activities, or if I do, there's more restrictions in place and it doesn't feel the same. And I kind of say to people, how can we get creative with that? So say you really like tennis or something. We can't play tennis in winter and tennis courts are closed. Can we watch tennis online? Is there a little tennis video game that you can incorporate tennis into? So kind of, can we keep that hobby, but in a little bit of a different way? So it's just maybe a different type of excitement. So maybe getting a little bit creative with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Something I didn't think of for sure, but that makes sense. Let me just see here if we've got. So yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to type it in the chat. Let me see what I have here. So, so do you have any quick ways to ease the feelings of burnout? Quick tips?
Yeah, I think, so in the moment, I would say try to connect to your breath, just because it is the present moment. So I like to kind of even put a hand on my chest sometimes, just for a bit of that like pressure, and then just breathe in and out. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, nice and slowly. And just to kind of ground yourself. This sounds obvious, but I don't think we always think about it, is we can't be in the present moment and the past or the future at the same time. And a lot of times burnout is, oh my gosh, I have so much more stuff to do, or I've done all this stuff already. So that could be kind of one of those quick approaches in the moment of just connecting with your breath. If that's not something that's comfortable for you, then I just say connect to one of your 5 senses in general. So could you light a candle? Could you maybe hold some ice in your hand to feel kind of the coldness, or maybe open a window and get that cold breeze? So if breathing's kind of not for you, then maybe pick one of the 5 senses. Sour candy is kind of a go-to of mine. I say, like, keep some sour candies in your purse or whatever, and pop one in if it's getting a little overwhelming. Yeah,
no, that's a good tip for sure. It's just kind of reconnecting with, just getting us out of our heads all the time, right? And reconnecting with being. What about, how could I gain some insight into my current situation?
So just kind of knowing more about what's going on.
Yeah.
I think a few of my suggestions for that would be, if you like to journal or write, again, kind of just set a timeline, 10, 15 minutes. and just write whatever's coming to your mind. Sometimes we don't realize what's going to come up until we start. And it's kind of like, wow, my mind went this whole other place. And then you can kind of read through it that day or in a few days and just kind of see, okay, what's coming up? What was the theme? What did not come up that I thought would? So that could just be a good starting point to figure out where our mind might be. And then, cheesy as always, but self-care. So if you're not doing self-care, asking yourself, why am I not doing it? Do I not have the time? Do I feel too burnt out to even do a self-care? Sometimes it is easier to lay in bed than to, go to the gym or meditate or do a craft. So maybe checking in about how your self-care is. And as always, if you can't figure it out, like it can be really hard to have that awareness when there's so much going on around us in our personal lives, globally, things like that. So it's okay to reach out for that more professional support to help make sense of it if you're not sure.
Yeah, exactly. I always think that's really important too. There's definitely things that we can do for ourselves and with others, but definitely reaching out to gain some expert advice and just like we have here on the screen is, it doesn't hurt just to book a quick call or to send a quick email just to connect and see, are you the right person? Can I see myself working with you and that kind of thing.
I kind of joke and say finding a therapist is sometimes like dating where like if you meet a therapist and you just feel you don't vibe, like it's okay. It's not a flaw of yours or of the therapist. It's just sometimes we have different personalities and we need a certain personality to kind of be comfortable. So sometimes you might have 2 or 3 or 4 even consult calls to figure it out, and that's okay. You're not failing or doing it wrong or anything like that. Again, we're all going to be different, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because I think, people who have always been more hesitant to reach out, to talk to a therapist, and then they do, and they don't have a good experience, like just because of that connection, but then they don't try again because they think, oh, it's all going to be the same, or, so that's a good point. You can try shop around, right?
Shop around. There are so many in Calgary or wherever we even are, Alberta.
Yeah, exactly. So people can get a hold of you here, either send you an email, follow you. Again, I love Instagram because you have a lot of great posts that are just kind of a quick, easy tip for the day. Or I love too how you define certain things, like what is generalized anxiety disorder, what is this, what is that. So definitely, if you're not following Brittney, go ahead and follow her on Instagram or any of the other platforms. So that was great.
For having me today.
Thank you so much. Another great addition to the summit today. Next up, we have Dr. Kayla Ekkel, who is a naturopathic doctor working at Serenity Now Wellness in Inglewood. She recognizes that illness can make us feel overwhelmed, out of control, and disconnected from our bodies or minds. Her goal is to get every patient feeling better by giving them a sense of empowerment when it comes to their health. She helps patients develop an understanding of their body and provides them with the tools to improve their wellness. I love it.
All right, so thank you for the introduction, Kelly. Yes, I'm Dr. Kayla Ekkel. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to lymph beautiful. So the lymphatic system is one of my favorites because it does so much, and it does not, in my opinion, get the attention it deserves. And I think this is because there's not a lot of research into the lymphatic system. It's really difficult to study. And it's actually been only in the last 10 years or so that they actually discovered that there's lymph vessels in the brain. So before they found these, they weren't even sure how the brain got rid of its waste products. So it's a system where our knowledge of it is evolving, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it today. So I want to do a little dive into the anatomy of the lymphatic system, and just a shallow little dive just to give a basic overview. So the lymphatic organs are the thymus, the bone marrow, the spleen, tonsils, appendix, and lymph nodes. And these are the areas where immune cells are born, where they mature, and then where they end up living and doing their job for the rest of their life. Lymphatic fluid is what's actually moving throughout the lymphatic system, and it's made up of tissue fluids and blood plasma. So how this happens is the blood's flowing through the blood vessels and it reaches the capillaries, which are the very smallest blood vessels, and the blood plasma gets pushed out. So it surrounds the cells in the area, it provides them with oxygen and nutrients, and then most of the blood plasma is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, but not all of it. And what is left over, along with any excess tissue fluids, actually becomes lymphatic fluids. So the lymphatic fluid enters the lymphatic vessels, and it carries the lymph to lymph nodes, and then eventually returns the fluid back to the blood. The lymph nodes are acting as a filter, so it's cleansing the lymphatic fluid before returning it to the blood. So it's removing any bacteria, viruses, damaged or irregular cells, and preventing them from entering the bloodstream, because we don't want them there. So the very last thing we have is mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, or MALT. This is located in mucous membranes in the gut, in the lungs, in the bladder, in the nose, the skin, and even in the eyes. It's very similar to lymph nodes, but they're not quite as large or defined, and they don't have any incoming lymphatic flow. So these mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues, or MALTs, function as a very important first layer of defense for our immune system. And it's actually estimated that between 70 and 80% of the body's entire immune system is located in the gut-associated lymphatic tissue, which is a type of MALT. So this is just a nice little reminder of why gut health is so, so important. Okay, and then the next thing I want to talk about is the functions of the lymphatic system. So it has quite a few functions, but I broke them down here into two main categories. So we have immunity and circulatory. So we talked about how the lymphatic organs generate and store immune cells. Then we have the lymphatic fluid that's collecting toxins and pathogens from the cells and carrying it to the lymph nodes where it's dealt with by the immune cells. And we're also providing protection to mucosal barriers that are exposed to external pathogens with our MALT, including the very important GALT that makes up 70 to 80% of our whole immune system. On the circulatory side, the lymphatic system is responsible for maintaining fluid balance within the body and circulatory system. So it's preventing fluid from pooling around the tissues, and this is where we get edema or swelling. The lymphatic system also has another really important job, and this is absorbing fats, which is our most energy-dense food component. So it absorbs fats and fat-soluble vitamins from the digestive system. So these are actually too large to be absorbed by the blood. So the lymphatic system picks them up, transports them through the lymph fluid, and ultimately returns them to the blood where they can be delivered to cells and utilized. And our fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K, and these are all required for proper immune function. So between the two main functions of immunity and circulatory, there's a lot of crossover. So now that we know a little bit about what the functions of the lymphatic system are, we can see that any slowing or congestion of the lymphatic system can lead to decreased immune function, fluid stagnation, swelling. It can result in toxins not being removed from the cells, and those toxins sticking around and impairing cellular function. And it can also result in fats and fat-soluble vitamins not being efficiently delivered, so we wouldn't have as much energy or just the nutrients we need for the body to do its job. Some of the symptoms that you might see if you have lymphatic congestion, and I'm just going to read them all off. There's a lot, but you might have soreness and stiffness, and this would be noticeable especially in the morning. You can be feeling overall fatigued, have brain fog, have headaches or migraines, weight gain, especially weight gain around the abdomen, and stubborn weight that is tough to get rid of. You might notice allergies or food sensitivities, having frequent infections, having mood issues like depression. There may be digestive issues, swollen glands, bloating, or water retention. Recurrent sinusitis, itchy or dry skin that could also progress to be a rash or acne. It can lead to breast swelling or soreness with menses, and you might even notice cold hands and feet. So these are a myriad of symptoms. There's a lot of things here, and these are very common symptoms. They're things that a lot of people experience. So when these symptoms can't be attributed to or explained by anything else, I always think about the lymphatic system. And now we are getting to the meat and potatoes. So we can talk about improving your lymphatic flow. And I've broken this down into a few categories. So this is the first one. It's called the basics. So these are things that are easy to do. They're easy to incorporate into your daily routine. And they're going to improve your lymphatic flow and make sure that your lymphatic system is functioning at its very best. So the number one thing is hydration. Lymphatic fluid is 96% water, so a smooth flow requires a consistent and sufficient water intake. Please don't chug your water. The body best absorbs water in small, frequent amounts, and when you drink large amounts, the body's actually not absorbing as much of the water, it's just getting flushed out through your body, through your kidneys. So sipping water throughout the day is the best strategy to make sure that you're hydrated. Number two is movement. So unlike the cardiovascular system that has the heart, the lymphatic system has no pump of its own, and it needs muscle contraction for the lymphatic fluid to flow through the body. So we have to make sure that we are exercising. I usually get people to do 30 minutes every day, and breaking this up into 10-minute intervals makes it really easy to achieve. So it doesn't have to be anything intense unless you like that, but if you don't, it can be simple things like walking in place, doing yoga, tai chi, just anything that's moving your body and working your muscles is going to improve your lymphatic flow. Number three is diaphragmatic breathing. So diaphragmatic breathing is so important. Having those deep breaths instead of shallow chest breathing. I talk to all of my patients about it, and there's been studies that have shown just doing diaphragmatic breathing will reduce your stress, improve your emotions, improve constipation, high blood pressure, headaches, anxiety. It helps with reflux. And if you have cardiovascular disease, you can actually improve your cardiorespiratory fitness just by breathing properly. So when it comes to the lymphatic system, the diaphragm is a big muscle. Yay, we need muscles. And it acts as a lymphatic pump. So it stimulates lymphatic movement, and it actually massages the lymph nodes that are located underneath the diaphragm. So how I usually describe diaphragmatic breathing to my patients, I thought we would just do it quickly. So it's always nice just to take a deep breath, and I probably need to. I'm probably speaking too fast, but put one hand on your chest, one hand on your abdomen. The hand on your chest shouldn't move the entire time that you're breathing. So our inhalation is going to be the relaxed portion. So we're going to imagine that we're filling a balloon that goes from our diaphragm all the way to our pelvic floor. And when we're exhaling, this is where we're going to contract our muscles, and we're going to imagine that we're doing up a zipper from our pubic bone to our diaphragm. So we're going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. I feel better already. Usually I get people to do 100 breaths a day of diaphragmatic breathing. I find this is a really effective way just to manage stress, move the lymphatic system, improve your mood, and doing it consistently is really important. So number 4, I have leafy greens and citrus fruits. And I mean, this wouldn't really be a talk by a naturopathic doctor if I didn't mention eating fruits and vegetables. So these are 2 cool tidbits that I came across while I was putting this presentation together that I didn't actually know before, so I wanted to include them. With citrus fruits, they contain a flavonoid called diosmin, and this is located in the white part, which is called the pith, but the part that we usually peel off of oranges actually has this flavonoid that they found improves lymphatic flow. And with leafy greens, eating them activates a gene that controls the production of innate lymphoid cells, which is your baby immune cells. And this happens in the digestive tract. And if we remember, our gut is 70 to 80% of our immune system. So if you needed another reason to eat your fruits and vegetables, here it is. So this is just a big bold slide to reiterate how vital basics 1 and 2, hydration, which is going to regulate osmotic pressure, and exercise are to lymphatic flow. And if the only thing that you take away from this presentation is that hydration and exercise, regular movement, and regular water intake are essential to good lymphatic flow, that would make me super happy. Okay, so now we get to level 2, or the level up, and these strategies are just 1 step up from the basics. Number 1 is castor oil packs. Castor oil packs are amazing. This is another thing that I recommend to almost all of my patients. They relieve pain, they're anti-inflammatory, so they're great for constipation or PMS symptoms, and they also stimulate the lymphatic and immune systems. Bonus, they're super easy to do. You just put it on, put a heat pack on, and then you hang out. So you can use them while you watch TV, while you read, while you meditate, or if you're working from home, like I do sometimes, you can do a castor oil pack while you're working. I recommend that people do these usually 4 times a week, and if you can do those 4 times all in a row, that will have the greatest benefit. For time, I didn't include any instructions on how to do castor oil packs, but I have a handout, so if anybody is interested, just get in touch with me and I can send it to you because I would love for everybody to be doing castor oil packs. Number 2 is dry skin brushing. So this is just using a fibrous brush, moving in gentle rhythmic movements, starting at the hands and feet and moving towards the heart. So this can be done on a daily basis. It's a really simple thing to add in just before you have a shower, and that way you're washing all of the dead skin cells off, but it's also a great thing to do before bed. And this is because it's going to get the lymphatic system moving before our most sedentary hours with the least muscle contraction. Hydrotherapy is number 3. And this can be as easy as adding in 1 minute of cold water to the end of your shower, but you can also alternate 3 to 5 minutes of hot water with 1 minute cold. Always end on cold because then you get the blood vessel contraction. So the hot water is going to dilate vessels, opening things up, bringing more flow, and then the cold water is going to cause contraction, which is going to cause constriction and push things through the vessels. So you're just improving the movement of your lymph flow by doing hot and cold alternating. So this one is a scary one for people, and you don't have to start with freezing cold water. You can work yourself up to that. And what I find really helps is to sing yourself a song during the cold parts, so you're not standing there counting the seconds until it's over. I think someone once said you can sing happy birthday to yourself 2 times, and that will be good for your cold part, but you could also sing a better song. I think I recommend that. So this is a really simple and really effective way of improving your lymphatic circulation. Number 4 is sleep. And I didn't put sleep in the basics because when people don't get enough sleep, it's generally not as easy as saying, just get more sleep, just like do sleeping more. If people do have difficulty sleeping, then that's something that I address with them right away at the very beginning of us working together, because sleep is so important to our ability to heal. At the very beginning of the presentation, I talked about the recent discovery of lymph vessels in the brain. These are called lymphatics, and they really only drain at night. So it's really important to get 6 to 8 hours of good sleep to allow your body enough time to move toxins out of your brain and into the circulation where they can be eliminated. Studies have shown that people who don't sleep for 6 to 8 hours a night have more plaque buildup in their brain that can lead to memory problems and Alzheimer's later in life. So get your sleep. Okay, improving lymphatic flow, the advanced version. So these are things that I would do with patients in my practice. In each section, I would personalize or tailor the treatment specifically to each patient. And for that reason, these are things that I recommend you only do under the care of a trained professional. So the number 1 thing is reducing inflammation. Inflammation alters lymphatic flow, and an altered lymphatic flow causes inflammation. So you get this kind of vicious cycle going on, and this can be really apparent when people are having trouble losing weight. So the first thing that we're going to do is talk about reducing toxins. So we're going to talk about reducing external toxins, like what you're putting on your body, what's in your environment. We're also going to talk about toxins within the body. So this is where we might think about doing food sensitivity testing, an elimination diet, or choosing to follow the anti-inflammatory diet. This is also where we talk about being able to process and release emotional toxins. So I'm really lucky where I work. There are counselors. So if releasing emotional toxins, just letting emotions go and processing them is something that people need to work on, then they have access to a professional with expertise in this area in the same building, which I think is amazing. So we're also going to reduce inflammation by managing stress. So this can include some lifestyle adjustments. It can include adrenal support and nervous system support with herbs and supplements. Another thing that I might do is use lymphatic herbs. So these are plants that stimulate the movement of the lymphatic system in the body. These I would choose specifically for the person because no medicine does just one thing. And so I love choosing something that matches the patient's symptoms and helps them on a variety of levels. So some examples of lymphatic herbs, and there are more, are calendula, cleavers, and horse chestnut. Calendula is great for stagnation in the breast and pelvic areas. It's anti-inflammatory and it's really great for skin healing. Red clover, cleavers, stimulates lymphatic movement, especially in the pelvis. And it's also beneficial for urinary tract conditions like UTIs, bladder infections, kidney infections, and BPH. Horse chestnut is great for both lymphatic and venous congestion. So it actually strengthens blood vessels, which I think is amazing. And here I would use this one in cases of chronic venous insufficiency or even hemorrhoids. On the homeopathy side, I would use complex compounds that stimulate the elimination of toxins at both the intracellular and the extracellular level. These compounds address different systems and they allow the body to efficiently remove toxins that are stuck in the body and not allowing the body to function properly. And so once these toxins are removed, the body can return to a state of homeostasis or balance, and can work optimally. And the last thing I have on here, but definitely not the least, is acupuncture. So it's been shown in studies that acupuncture improves lymphedema, which is severe lymphatic fluid buildup. Additionally, there's a meridian in acupuncture called the Sanjiao, and the traditional Chinese medicine description of the role of the Sanjiao very much lines up with our modern medical understanding of what the lymphatic system does. So I just find this meeting of the ancient knowledge and our more recent scientific understanding of the body is so cool. I love acupuncture. I use it a lot in my practice because it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and puts us into the rest and digest mode that the body actually needs to be in to heal. Okay, so that is everything that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I really enjoyed sharing this information with you. I hope this inspired you to give your lymphatic system some love and try out some of the things that I suggested so that you can lymph beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Ekkel. That was wonderful. We do have a few questions.
Okay.
So the first one someone is asking here, they said, this may be a weird question, but what causes warts/plantar's warts? Does the immune system play into this? My kids have a few and not sure how, where, why they got them, but they seemed almost impossible to get rid of. What is the best way to get rid of these and eliminate the chances of them returning? I am searching for a lifelong solution.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a loaded question.
Yeah.
Yes, the immune system does play a role in warts. So yeah, improving the function of the immune system would be something that you can definitely do. And then there are treatments that you can do topically as well to treat the wart where it is.
Perfect. But yes, I'm sure it's one of those things, right? There's probably a lot more to it, but it's hard to know.
Exactly.
And then another question, relates to the current situation. So what are your thoughts on the COVID treatment protocol of taking zinc, I can't pronounce the Q one, quercetin, and
quercetin.
Yeah, and NAC, which again, I can't say. N-acetylcysteine?
Yes. Yes, those are they're all great for the immune system. And I think all of them have research backing them up for COVID treatments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, really anything to do with improving your immune system, right? I'm sure you're the same in terms of the fact that there's not enough talk around necessarily boosting your immune system, but there's lots we can do, right, to help.
Yes.
And not only with COVID, right? COVID is just one thing right now, but there's always something going around these days, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. And then let me just see here. If anyone else has any additional questions, go ahead and just type them in the chat. Another one. So do I need to do all of these things to see an effect? Because that's a good question, right? People are kind of all or nothing.
Right. No, you definitely do not need to do all of the things. I would say hydration and exercise, moving your body, those are your two basic ones. Everything else that you can add in is a bonus, but also being said, most of the other things are very, very easy to add in. So just like choose one, like add it to your routine, whether it's a castor oil pack when you're watching TV or dry skin brushing before you're showering. And yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, exactly. That's always my thing. It's like just one thing at a time, get into kind of the habit, get used to it, and then start adding on. Because if someone tried to do all those things, like, right, starting from eating not well, not exercising, not sleeping, to trying to do everything, I mean, it's, it's a lot.
It would be a lot.
And then what are some signs that my lymphatic system is improving?
Okay, so some of the symptoms of lymphatic congestion that you might have had in the first place. So whether it's stiffness and soreness, feeling tired, brain fog, headaches, maybe skin issues, digestive issues, you would see those improving.
Yes, exactly. And that's all good things. Perfect. I mean, this was so great. The body is really remarkable. I think that oftentimes a lot of us don't give our bodies enough credit for what it can do and how it can take care of itself if you're feeding it properly, moving it properly, and you know, not stressing too much, right? That's all really important. And you probably mention a lot in your practice as well, how stress is a big one. It triggers so many other things. And also doesn't do well for your immune system. So yeah, so this was great. And anyone can get a hold of you. There's, so yes, you're at the Serenity Wellness Center, as well as you have your personal Instagram page. And obviously there's a lot of services that you offer, and I always highly recommend people looking into this. Just, you know, I think to some, depending on past experiences or maybe what they've heard from people, they're a little more hesitant to maybe go into this side of health, right? The more natural side. But I think that there's obviously a lot that can happen between the two working together and complementing each other. And that, you know, if you've tried it once and didn't have a great experience, it's kind of like Brittany was saying, it's kind of like shopping for a therapist, shopping for a doctor, shopping for a naturopath, right? You need to find someone that aligns with you and that will be able to support you in your journey to health. So this was great. Well, thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. So Chelsea. All right, so Chelsea, Jani has been working in Calgary as a registered nurse for years, but later in her career, she worked as a staff nurse on a rehab unit, which led to her passion for older adults. Chelsea co-owned and recently sold a large home care franchise in Calgary, and she was able to grow the company and most importantly, focus on changing the face of aging and improving the lives of adults with health complications, as well as their caregivers. She's recently taken on the role as director of care for a company called Longevity Care, helping them grow in the Calgary area. It's her passion and desire to make a difference in the lives of the families and their loved ones who need support in the home. So important. She's also been involved in multiple organizations and advocacy boards in Calgary supporting older adults and their caregivers. And she has 3 young children in addition, and a Cocker Spaniel that keeps her and her husband very busy. Yes, I can imagine for sure.
It worked. Okay, so we're going to talk about today. I'm Chelsea, a registered nurse here in Calgary. We're going to talk about caregiver stress, burnout, and ways to avoid it. Some tips. So let's get started. Kelly introduced me a little bit. Like she said, I've been working in the city. I ended up in senior care. It's a passion of mine. I love it. Right now, I'm helping a company, Longevity Care, grow in Calgary and area. And any way I can get my hands into being a caregiver advocate, being a part of any sort of advocacy boards in the community, it's what I love to do. So we're going to jump right in here. Some caregiver statistics. So they're pretty big numbers. As you see, worldwide, there's close to 350 million people that are estimated to be care dependent. 18 million are children aged under the age of 15 years, and 29%, 101 million, are older people, 60 years of age and over. So among these family caregivers, majority care for their father and mother, a small percentage for their spouse, partner, or child, and the remaining is provided to other family members or friends. So caregivers perform a variety of tasks that differ in different levels of intensity, the degree of emotional, physical demands. Maybe it's just grocery shopping, or maybe you're the full up personal care, feeding, grocery shopping, everything. Majority spend 20 hours or more a week caring for a loved one. And the social and financial support that caregivers may receive can mitigate some of the potential negative impacts associated with caregiving, such as increased stress, financial difficulties, and often even physical and mental health problems. So as you can see, caregiving is a very real thing that many among us are dealing with. It's all evident kind of as you get older, your parents are aging, your friends' parents, your aunts, your uncles, maybe you yourself are finding that you're, getting to an age where you need help. It's in everyone's lives to some degree, even if you don't really realize it, it's around you. It could be mom caring for grandma at home or visiting her weekly in a facility, creating her schedule around that. A son caring for his mother with Alzheimer's who lives in his basement. A grandchild who's working, going to university, and they're the ones responsible to check in on grandma and grandpa, things like that. So this is a short clip that shows the day in the life of a caregiver. It's a pretty touching video. I think it's about 2 minutes, and it shows you the compassion and the hard work that it takes to be a full-time caregiver. So I think it's a good start.
I'm gonna cry again, right?
I know. It gets you. I get every single time I see it. All right, let's do it.
There we go. Every time.
There we go. It's a good one. That's for sure. All right. So let's begin a little bit here. How can you combat caregiver stress and avoid burnout while still being supportive and giving care to a spouse, family member, or friend? So what do you do? First, we're going to discuss the risks of caregiver burnout. So some of the things to look out for are, do you feel any symptoms of depression? Do you feel you're being pulled in multiple directions? You got kids in soccer, you've got groceries, you've got work, you've got mom and dad who need you. You feel like you're trapped in your role as a caregiver? Is there conflict amongst the people closest to you and the person that you're caring for? That's common, very common. Multiple opinions. Do you feel you're not getting support from other people? Do you feel like you're unable to meet expectations and needs, both physical and emotional, of the person that you're caring for? Because you can barely take care of your own. Are you unable to communicate effectively with others around you? You feel brain foggy. It's just overwhelming. Is your health or the health of the person you're caring for getting worse? So weight gain or loss, maybe irritable, frequent headaches or illnesses, and do you feel overwhelmed? Maybe you've been feeling these things, but have not tied it to being a caregiver. I hope today this will help you open your eyes a bit to see how important it is to take care of yourself, some of that self-care. So as we all know, there's an ongoing pandemic. As the situation continues to present itself in our world, there's things of being heightened, feelings of stress, anxiety, isolation. It just never seems to end. It just seems like we go in this continual circle and that we just become more and more anxious and isolated as caregivers. One sec. It can be challenging to stay connected, so making sure you're researching your local resources, connecting with peer support groups online, some starting to meet in person again. So this can be worldwide or local. If it's online, it can be worldwide. Local, thankfully, again, these groups are starting to meet in person again. Looking at what your local government's doing to support caregivers during the pandemic, possible lockdowns in your area. So if there's time off work, financial assistance that's being given. And just know that you're not alone. If you're like many caregivers, you've had a hard time asking for help. Unfortunately, this attitude can lead to feeling isolated, frustrated, and sometimes even depressed. Rather than struggling on your own, though, take advantage of local resources for caregivers. There's so many out there. What are ways to check your well-being? A checklist? Here's some ideas. So some suggestions, starting with one, often don't overwhelm yourself, and building up. So exercise at home, even going for a walk. Are you getting out at least once or twice a week? I know this is tying in to even a lot of the conversation that's been happening all day today, kind of ways to do that self-care, checking in, sleep, taking care of your body. It's just so important that you're getting 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep per night. So it's hard to find time to yourself after a long day and settling into bed, but sleep is crucial for your mental health. Visiting with a nutritionist or naturopath if you need help achieving some simple nutritious meals. Maybe a hobby or special interest that you've lost that you haven't been doing anymore. Maybe you used to knit or play a sport. It's important not to lose your identity in the midst of caregiving. Acknowledge your feelings as they come up. So talking with friends, talking with relatives about your caregiving, about your emotions, you're being overwhelmed, or don't discuss it at all. Just get out and have a laugh, have a good time. Do something special for yourself at least once a week. So this is hard at the best of times for anyone, but especially if you're a caregiver. But if you have a defined activity, put it in your calendar, you set an alarm, 30 minutes, whatever it is, an hour weekly, you're more likely to achieve it. So if you specifically make that time, you'll be able to do it. Great resources and webinars that are out there for like financial papers, wills, making sure all of that's in order, keeping your annual medical and dental appointments. Don't let those go astray. It's really important to not let your health deteriorate because you're just as important as your loved one. All right, there's where we got. And attend a community caregiver support group or counselor. So what is self-care? When you're told to take care of yourself, what does it mean? It's what you do for just you. So it's not the things you have to do. It's not school, it's not work, it's not cleaning your home, not errands, going to get groceries, not running your kids to sports or whatever it is, taking your dog, maybe that might be therapeutic, but caregiving, it includes taking care of yourself. So physically, health and wellness, psychologically, stress reduction, emotionally and spiritually. Caregivers, they often think of self-care as selfish, or they feel that they're just too busy. It's common for caregivers, to put themselves last and to neglect themselves. But just think, if you're not your best self, who will continue to care for your loved one when you're possibly gone? Did you know that statistics show that caregivers are more likely to pass away before the one they care for. That's pretty crazy. And that's why self-care is so important. There's lots of lists on the web of how to take care of yourself, how to reduce stress. If you have no ideas that work specifically for you, just Google it, because there's lots that come up. Some of the ones that we'll go through, ways to care for yourself and decrease stress. Some ones that are out there that a lot of people do. Anticipating your needs. So if you know that every Friday it's your heightened stress point, take 30 minutes and do yoga. Have goals for yourself. Write sticky notes and put them on your mirror in the morning so that you can be encouraged and see those. Go for a long walk somewhere new. Ask a friend for a hug. Read a poem. Keep a journal. Meditate. And remember to strive for excellence, not perfection. Nobody's asking you to be perfect in this situation, right? So I hope this encourages you to look deeper into self-care if you're a caregiver, to know that there are options, that there's ways to get help, that admitting you're struggling or burning out isn't admitting weakness, but that realizing to be better and do better, you need self-care and support. So some recommended books. The first two here are more geared toward aging parents. This one is just some stories. This is The Conscious Caregiver. It's a good book about being mindful in your approach to caring for someone and keeping yourself in the forefront. Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One. And The Relaxation and Stress Reduction. It's a workbook. So there's lots out there. These are ones that have been recommended. I've read a few. They're really good, that are helpful. You can write down some of those titles if you want. I can give them afterwards. Some caregiveralberta.ca, we're in Alberta here. There's all sorts of, there's caregiver support online. There's national, there's local. There's so many different things. If you just seek it out, you'll find it. So remember, thank you for listening. It is so important as a caregiver not to become so enmeshed in the role that you lose yourself. It's neither good for you nor for your loved one. So I hope this has brought some awareness to caregiver burnout, either for yourself or someone you know who's a caregiver, that you can maybe bring this awareness to them as well. If it's yourself, look for local resources and support groups. If you know of someone who's a caregiver, maybe ask them how they're doing. Ask for ways that you can help them and let them know that they are noticed and heard. That's so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Exactly. This is just so important on so many different levels. And I think too, caregivers probably sometimes, they don't want to ask for help, or they think they can do it all. And, there could be other family members around, but they're not, leaning on them for any help. And I'm sure you've seen it over and over. It just, that statistics about a lot of the times that the caregiver passes away before the one that they're caring for. I mean, that's huge. Like, that's eye-opening, right?
And it's usually a heart attack or some sort of illness that takes them because of the stress on the body.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, it's important to say that. I mean, obviously, the truth is anything can happen to any one of us at any time, and it might be a temporary thing too, right? I think that a lot of people imagine a caregiver, you're caring for an elderly person, right? But I can say that there was a time in my life where I was a caregiver for a family member who was very, very ill for a period of time and is now recovered, right? So it's not always what we think of, we don't have to worry about this now, right? We can, it's going to be someone who's older. And so I'm sure you have some additional resources, or even, a lot of those books would probably apply, right, to anybody caregiving
Yeah.
in any situation. So yeah, no, really, really important. I'm just going to, sorry, bring up this screen again. And if anyone, again, has any questions or comments, just pop them in the chat. I'm just going to pull this up. Let's go to the next one here. Okay. So, and if anyone wants to reach out to you, Chelsea, are you okay if they send you a quick email or a message?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm sure
That's fine.
you
Yeah.
know, we, I mean, in this industry, you're more than open to giving resources to people, right? And being there to help in any way that you can. So
For sure.
definitely feel free to reach out to Chelsea if you have any questions at all. And I mean, you and I both know, being in the healthcare industry, that sometimes we can't just rely on what's publicly available, right?
Yeah.
There are other things.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, so question here, what types of services does a home care agency typically provide like this? So I'm talking home care outside of, say, Alberta Health Services.
Yeah. So depends on where you are. You'll have public home care possibly, or different services. Basically, a scenario, you are getting up at night, you're worried about a loved one, you're checking in on them, you're helping them go to the bathroom, and you're not getting your sleep, and you're tired and you're emotional. A caregiver from an agency can come in, it's consistent, they're reliable, so they're going to know your routine, they're going to know the loved one, there's trust that's being built, and it's set up, and it's just very focused on the client's needs, and it's not task-based. They're not coming in and coming out. They're going to kind of come in like a family member, and so that they can either do an overnight shift, let's say, and they can be there getting up with the loved one, and you can sleep. Or if it's during the day, you're just strapped and you've got all your extra, you've got full-time work and you've got extracurricular activities, maybe it's children or pets or whatever it is that you've got. And you're like, I can't visit mom or dad Wednesday afternoon to get their groceries or to check in on them, make sure their meals are ready, and to make sure, or maybe it's a young adult who may be autistic or whatever it is. We can come in and check in and do a few hours, making sure that they're being driven to their doctor's appointments, making sure that they have food in the fridge, that it's fresh food, that the companionship and engaging activities as well. So depending on what their needs are. So yeah.
And I love these organizations too, because it is someone who's doing this job because they do care and they are passionate about it, right? So that's always nice, comforting for the family too.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are some of the common self-care ideas that family caregivers enjoy doing?
So some of the ones I know I kind of mentioned a little bit, but yoga, that's a big part. Meditation, kind of taking time, because that can even be a 15-20 minute. You don't need a ton of time for that, right? So it's a time where you're just kind of honing in, focusing, maybe some journaling, meditation, and then just little simple things. You're at the grocery store, buy yourself a bouquet of flowers, put it on your table. Like, it's bright, it's fresh. It just makes, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I know it makes me feel better when I see a fresh bouquet of flowers on the table. I just love it. Scheduling appointments, making sure your doctor's appointments, like maybe you need to get your hair done. Maybe it's been a year since you've gotten a haircut. Just try to schedule that in. Taking 30 minutes to sit in your car, even just go somewhere where you can have just a moment, check out, listen to a podcast, maybe a 30-minute TV show that'll give you a laugh, your favorite music, having a dance party. That's always good for the body and your, your hormones and everything. So those are some good ways.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect. And then lastly, how can I stay on top of things and having conversations with family about a loved one's care?
So this is really hard. Care conversations with family are challenging at best, because everybody's coming in with their opinions. If there's siblings, if there's aunts, uncles, everybody has their input. So it's really important to spell out clearly what each role is right from the start, and what support tasks each will provide. So someone's going to get groceries, someone's going to do the personal care at home, and especially for the person who has them living with them, that's the one that's taking the most. And often the extra supports, they'll just kind of almost forget. Like it's easy just to go about your own business. And so it's really important for the person who's doing the primary care, although it's challenging, to step up and communicate early on, saying, I need you to do this role, you need to do that role. And also maybe having someone in the family who's a bit more vocal that way to be in charge of that. Best way, calling a family meeting is early and later as often as possible. So continual family meetings. Plan what you're going to say. Have it written out, have it organized, timing and location, making sure everybody's not stressed, and listen to one another and what you have to say, hear the struggles, and sometimes getting an additional support. So maybe even it's family meeting with their GP, a social worker, maybe there's their geriatric consultant, someone who can like sit down with the family, or let's say as the director of care, I do all the time, sit with families and just listen kind of as a neutral ground, helping everybody to fill their roles so that the person, the loved one, is at their best being cared for, as well as the caregiver, who's the primary, is able to get that extra support and assistance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge point you bring up too, because it's like, as a family working together to care for a loved one, sometimes you need that outside person, because, you know, when you're in it as a family, you don't, you're just so immersed in it that you just can't.
And a lot of
see outside of it,
emotions.
so.
You're tired, you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. No, so that's great. Well, again, here's your contact information. So if anyone has any questions, just send Chelsea an email or a message. But so important. I love hearing all about it, and I love hearing your passion in caring for caregivers and older adults. So thank you so much, Chelsea. Coach Mandy, aka the Unconventional Trainer. She holds a degree in human nutrition and fitness training as well. She helps women hone their hormonal power through cycle syncing, intuitive eating, and healthy habits so that they can feel comfortable and confident in their bodies. I love this. Really, really important.
Perfect. Okay, cool, guys. All right. Well, I'm Mandy. Thanks for having me. This was last minute. I got asked to swing in yesterday, like 24 hours ago. So here we are. Hopefully this is going to be 20 minutes long.
You're a rock star.
But I've been doing workshops for my members, my students, and my clients anyways on this kind of stuff. So it's pretty easy to pull together. So here we go. So we're going to be diving into cycle syncing and hormonal health. And you're probably maybe wondering, well, what is cycle syncing? So cycle syncing is the practice of making lifestyle choices, from food to workouts, socializing to work projects, according to the phases of your menstrual cycle. So what is the framework, right? As our hormones ebb and flow over the span of 4 weeks, our menstrual cycle biologically has 4 distinct eras. So we have our menstrual, this is the bleed phase. We have our follicular, so this is the pre-egg release. And we also have our ovulatory, which is the process of releasing the egg. And then the last one is the luteal phase, so the post-egg release. Each person is different, so your graph will likely and slightly look different than, say, mine per se. But generally speaking, a healthy and normal menstrual cycle should fall within these ranges. I do urge you to track your cycle in a calendar form if you don't already. And also just to note that this is a menstrual cycle that is not on hormonal birth control. Just to quickly compare, so figure A, I think it's the top one there. Yeah, it's the top one. So figure A represents hormonal fluctuations during a normal menstrual cycle. Figure B represents the hormonal fluctuations while taking an oral contraceptive containing both estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so we're going to dive into the 4 phases, and we're going to start with the bleed phase, so the menstrual phase. So phase number 1 is called the menstrual phase, and I want you to think of the season as the winter phase. This phase or period, it's also really important to rest, just like we do in the winter, right? This is an ideal time to prepare the body for basically what's ahead. All right, so diving in a little bit deeper here. The menstrual phase is the first part of your cycle. It occurs if the egg from the previous cycle was not fertilized. In other words, you're not pregnant. Menstruation is defined as when the thickened lining of the uterus breaks down and sheds. The uterine lining exits the cervix and out of the vagina in the form of blood and tissues, aka your period. During your period, your body will decrease its levels of estrogen and progesterone, preparing itself for phase number 2. Generally speaking, a typical period occurs every 21 to 35 days and lasts around 3 to 5 days. The average period contains about 35 to 80 milliliters of blood and tissues. While this is the average, some women can have 5 to 6 tablespoons released, which is considered heavy bleeding, and that is totally normal. Just to note, there is no perfect amount, just a standard index you should be falling into. If you use anywhere between 3 and 16 tampons or pads during your menstrual phase, you're operating normally. So start tracking your menstrual phase on the first day of heavy bleeding. Lighter spotting days do not contribute to this phase. This piece of info is key, along with any associated symptoms, to understanding your cycle's norms. As for color, your period should be a red cranberry shade. If you find that the color is a bit darker than normal, this is an indication that your flow might be light. If you're not following the right routine for this phase, it may come with symptoms, and I really want you to keep in mind that you should be symptom-free. So anything like cramps, irritability, fatigue, bloating, tender breasts, mood swings, or lower back pain. Now, while none of these symptoms obviously sound ideal, there are ways in which you can nurture your body to help prevent them, or at the very least, alleviate them. So fun fact, the menstrual cycle is an ideal time to evaluate how you feel about certain situations and how to make decisions moving forwards. In other words, self-reflect here. Use a journal here and record these observations, feelings, and emotions. So you're probably wondering why this is an ideal time to reflect, right? Because during this phase, the analytical and feeling portions of your brain communicate the most, which is pretty cool. So for nutrition and fitness, and this is just a very brief overview, but eating in a cyclical pattern, aligning the proper exercise with your cycle, and planning your schedule with your phases in mind will help you prevent and or minimize the symptoms we have just discussed. During this phase, it's important to mineralize and replenish your body since it's going through the most strenuous phase of the 4. Foods that promote hydration and reduce bloating include watermelon, grapes, and cucumber. Activities such as nature walks, yin yoga, stretching, and moon salutations are encouraged during this phase. All right, so heading into the second phase. So this is called the follicular phase. Think of this phase as the spring season. Spring is often thought of as a time for fresh starts, renewal, and rebirth. This is a time to really create and let your imagination run wild. This phase happens after your period concludes, lasting about 7 to 10 days on average. During this phase, your ovaries prepare to release an egg during ovulation. As you move through this phase, your estrogen levels begin to increase, which in turn helps thicken the lining of your uterus. While this phase rolls around, you'll initially feel similar symptoms to those in the menstrual phase. Basically, at the beginning of this phase, you'll kind of probably start to feel cranky, maybe tired, but by the end of this phase, you'll feel the exact opposite. So optimistic, creative, and energized. The cool thing about the mid to latter end of this phase is that it comes with a lot of positive and pleasant symptoms. So this includes improved skin, increased energy, better coordination, which is, I wish something I had more often for every single phase, clearer thinking, and higher spirits. Something that you might have experienced during this phase is also cervical discharge. It's a white, creamy discharge that becomes cloudier, stickier, and more wet as ovulation approaches. This is due to follicular development. Follicles are fluid-filled sacs containing eggs in the ovary. So we will be talking more about this during the ovulation phase. The follicular phase is full of opportunities. So ladies, I really want you to take advantage of this phase. This is a perfect phase to plan out your personal and professional goals for the weeks leading up to your period. This is a time to take risks and try new things, problem solve situations, and set some really awesome intentions here. So whatever feels fascinating and appealing to you during this phase, I really encourage you to lean into it. So for nutrition fitness, again, this is just a really brief overview. It's kind of just like the thin layer over top, but this is just going to give you an idea of what you should be eating and how you should be moving during this phase. So thanks to the increase in estrogen in the second half of the follicular phase, you'll likely start to feel like you're in a more positive place. But to continue, you'll need to prepare by catering to your body's needs. It's during this phase that your metabolism begins to slow and your cortisol levels are fluctuating. This means you'll need to incorporate foods, movements, and lifestyle modifications in a cyclical way, also known as the cycle syncing method, to minimize any future problems like bloating, acne, cramps, PMS, or even irregular or missed periods. That includes eating foods high in protein and vitamins to support growing follicles and increasing the intensity of your workouts during the mid to latter end of this phase. So things like strength training, bar, and Pilates are all really good ideas for this phase. All right, guys. So we are halfway through. This is the third phase, which is also called ovulation. This phase is high in energy and filled with fun, much like summer. So that's why we have this beautiful background there. This is a great time to be social, have fun, and just get things done in general. So at the end of your follicular phase, your estrogen levels begin to really spike. This is when ovulation occurs. Ovulation happens when a mature egg is released from your ovary and into your fallopian tube. The egg travels through the fallopian tube with the assistance of those hair-like projections as it makes its way towards the uterus. Ovulation occurs about 13 to 15 days before the start of your next period, so about halfway through your cycle. Just like your period, the timing of your ovulation can vary from cycle to cycle too. There might even be times where you don't ovulate at all. Ovulation typically lasts for 24 hours based on studies. However, most people who track their cycle have a 3 to 4 day ovulation window, since this 24-hour time can be really difficult to track. During the ovulatory phase, you'll experience a surge in testosterone that will quickly drop back down, which can also cause an increase in your sex drive. So since there is a ton going on in your body during the ovulation phase, you'll likely experience some rather interesting symptoms, such as increase in estrogen, luteinizing hormones, the hormone that causes or triggers ovulation, and fluctuations in testosterone levels are the cause of symptoms such as an increase in energy and, again, sex drive. Another way to figure out if you're ovulating or not is to record your basal body temperature every morning at the same time. During ovulation, you'll see a slight dip in this number followed by a sudden rise. While in ovulation, you're more likely to be socially active, feel more outgoing, and even feel sexier. You may notice your skin glowing and becoming plumper and giving off that super desirable J-Lo glow that we all want. I know I want it. I'm definitely not in that phase right now. And thanks to your increase in energy, stabilized mood, and assertiveness, this is the perfect time to have those difficult conversations you've been shelving or avoiding. So sign up for networking events and take on any social-based activities that you have in mind. So again, a nice little brief overview for nutrition and fitness. So because of your increase in energy level, this is a great time to kick off your workout or kick it up a notch. So incorporating things like HIIT workouts and body weight circuits that are really, really hard will do you a lot of good during this phase. Diet-wise, you'll want to eat cruciferous vegetables during this phase to help flush out any excess estrogen that you may have in your body. Alrighty, guys, so the last phase here, this is phase number 4, and this is called the luteal phase. So think of this phase as the fall season, the time between ovulation and menstruation. So fall is often thought of as a harvest time. It is a time to reorganize and quickly wrap up any unfinished projects. So as you begin to come down from that high associated with the hormones during the ovulation phase, you'll find yourself entering the luteal phase. This phase takes place immediately following ovulation and continues until your next period. Typically, the luteal phase lasts around 10 to 14 days. It's during this phase that your estrogen levels begin to increase once again to rethicken that uterine lining. At the same time, your progesterone levels begin to rise. Toward the end of the luteal phase, right before you begin the menstrual phase, all over again, your estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone levels peak once again before dropping to their lowest levels as your period approaches. As autumn approaches, the leaves begin to change colors before finally falling to the ground to reveal the tree at its most vulnerable. At the same time, the weather begins to cool, preparing for the strenuous winter months ahead. Again, you can think of the luteal phase similarly to autumn, as your body comes off the idyllic, energy-driven high experience during ovulation. It begins to slow down and prepare for the season ahead, in this case, being your period. While there are less than fun symptoms that arise during this phase, the luteal phase does offer you an opportunity again for self-reflection. Because energy is less abundant during this phase, you have an opportunity to reprioritize and gain clarity about what you'd like to work towards in the future. The luteal phase is associated with increased intuition, so it's a great phase to really figure out what you need to do and get organized to ensure your path to attaining your goals is clearly outlined. While all that sounds wonderful, the luteal phase can come with some not so great symptoms, but keep in mind that you should be symptom-free. Having symptoms is actually not really normal, even though society has normalized them. So things like PMS, irritability, fatigue, and mood swings. So again, last part here, nutrition and fitness. So to offset these symptoms, try to increase your calorie intake to maintain a stable blood sugar level. It is okay to up your calorie intake during this phase because your metabolism is speeding up during this phase of during the stage of the phase. Incorporating cruciferous vegetables and complex carbohydrates into your diet during this phase will also help to offset any negative symptoms, since they are rich in nutrients your body requires around this time. Another way to alleviate any negative side effects of the luteal phase is to engage in more gentle workouts, such as Pilates, yoga, and basically just non-cardio based strength training. So take it super easy here. All right, guys. So that was my little presentation on cycle syncing, hormonal health, and little tidbits for fitness and nutrition on that. If you have any questions, I'm just going to open up the floor here and we can kind of take it from there. So just thanks for listening.
Wow, that was great, Mandy. Like, I have never heard of our cycle explained in that way. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, this is like my newfound passion. So I get really like excited talking about it.
Yeah, I love it. You can tell it comes through, but I mean, it's brilliant. And I don't know if you ever thought of working with women entrepreneurs, because definitely I can see now, like, you know, thinking back at certain times of the month, you're like, oh, okay, that's why I feel this way. And I just loved how you related it to be like, in this cycle, focus on this, or if you've been putting this off, this is a good time to do it. Like, phenomenal. I love it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, each phase does have an opportunity and they're all going to look really different. But I think just with our culture today, we're always like, go, 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 the harder, the better. And all this kind of stuff, or that, you know, all or nothing mentality. And that doesn't really fit with our womanhood and how we function as women, but it's really not something we talk about. And that's why it's so hard for women to honor their body, because they maybe during the luteal phase, they do like a crazy HIIT workout and they wonder why they end up feeling worse than feeling better. But in that phase, in that moment, that's really not what your body needs, you know?
Yeah. So it's like, it's okay if I'm lazy on those.
It's totally okay. It really gives you permission to just kind of beat to your own drum, which I love.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I love it. I don't know if you can see the chat here. So Brittany is asking, so if you're on birth control, can this still relate a little bit, or how does that affect, you know?
Yeah, so I figured that would be a question, which is why I had that as a really quick slide. So cycle syncing definitely works better for people who aren't on any hormonal birth control, because as you could see in those two charts, during just a normal non-oral contraceptive menstrual phase, your hormones are going like this, right? Which is normal. That's healthy. We have these phases for a reason. But when you're on that hormonal contraceptive, they're really just all leveled out. right? So they're kind of going against the grain of each cycle. So you could still technically try and cycle sync because you are on that 28-day plan, I guess I'll put it. But you're not going to have the same benefits as you would if you're not on birth control per se.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of, like you said, just keeps everything even, and yeah, you're not fluctuating as much. But it would be interesting to know, you know, if your I mean, there must be other hormones that are still changing, right? But just keeps those estrogen and progesterone levels. Yeah, so interesting. And then Wanda, what about says, what about women who are past their cycle? So menopause, postmenopause, or do you have anything around that stage in women's lives?
Yeah, so I don't really have any expertise on that phase. That's definitely something I've been wanting to look more into, but I just started cycle syncing within the last year for myself and helping people who are still menstruating, because that's been my focus. I would love to learn about premenopause, menopause, and postmenopause itself. I do know that there is a depletion in hormones, especially after menopause. I'm not sure what the cycle syncing method would look like. I feel like it wouldn't really be technically a cycle syncing method in that case because you're not really menstruating. So I feel like there should be a different plan in place if you are experiencing that phase of your life.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, we often hear of or know of women who, you know, whether it's perimenopause or they're right in menopause or after, you know, definitely some fluctuations and changes in weight, you know, bloatedness, like water retention, things like that. So absolutely, you know, it's important for us to, you know, also honor ourselves and learn what's going on there too. But I think this is fantastic, especially because I said, you know, women in any workforce, but, you know, especially women who are working full time and they have kids, you know, and you have your cycle. I mean, that's a lot.
There's a lot
going on.
And you know what? When we take care of our hormones, they take care of us. And there's so many different ways to take care of our hormones. So again, that can be fitness approach, that could be nutrition approach, especially even to do with gut health. Our gut really helps to synthesize certain hormones, which ultimately is going to impact our menstrual cycle. So there's so many areas that you don't have to be like, cycle syncing is in no way, in my opinion, a diet. But it is just a general guideline that you can pick and choose what works for you and what works in your lifestyle to help create your own picture of health. Because even though it's recommended that, you know, you're not supposed to have like a beer, drink wine, like when you're cycle syncing, because it keeps saying don't drink. Well, I'm still going to do that. So you really pick and choose what works for you, just so that you can create the life that you want and that you're feeling good, you're feeling happy, and you're feeling healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Balanced, right?
Balance, exactly. Yeah.
And so a few questions that you get asked often, how do I eat less?
So this was a big question that I had. I still get it a lot just because people still know me as a fitness trainer or nutrition-based approaches and all that kind of stuff. In my opinion, it's not how can you eat less, it's what can you add to your current diet. Because I think when we constantly try and take things away from what we're, you know, eating or restricting, we're either not enjoying our food, we're lacking energy, we're lacking nutrients, all this kind of stuff. So instead of it's how do I eat less, it's well, what can I add? So I think that's the best way to approach eating better or eating more well, if that's someone's goal, is to start by adding things in and then taking away the things that no longer serve you at the end of that.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of like a reverse approach. Let me know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
makes
absolutely
sense in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, that's part of it too. You know, also working in the nutrition side of things is that people don't understand. It's like, you know, they're like, well, I just eat so much, or this is the time of my day I eat more, or this is the time of my cycle I eat more. And it's like, well, there's more to it than that, right? Like, what are you not getting that your body needs, or how can you balance it out? So,
well, we live in such a diet culture scape where, you know, losing weight and all this kind of stuff, it's very praised and glorified. So a lot of people will go after that first. And it's just for a lot of people, it's not sustainable. So again, it's really just like, okay, well, what can we add that's going to add value to your life first? And then if you want to take away some things after that, we totally can, but let's focus on this first.
Yeah, exactly. And when you are focusing on your health and feeling better and fueling your body, if you're doing it right, yeah, weight loss is a side effect. You don't need to focus on it.
Totally.
Right. I mean, if your body's meant to lose weight, then yeah. And then what about when people ask you, how do I stay consistent with exercise?
Yeah, so this is a big one. I've gotten this from all people. So like even clients, members, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. People are like, how do I stay consistent? I think the biggest thing is that when people go to change a behavior, they go to change that behavior in itself. And eating food, exercising, drinking, all those things are really just superficial behaviors. And they're actually caused or triggered by emotions and feelings, which are ultimately created by a belief system. So by changing this belief system first, like, well, why do you perceive exercise as a chore? Maybe because that's what a lot of people think when it comes to movement. It's like, well, why do you actually think or feel that way about exercise? Like, let's address that belief system around it, change it so that you can ultimately change your behavior.
Yeah.
So that's, in my opinion, how people can really stay consistent long term and sustainably. Because when we try to make these extreme changes, say as like, I don't know, a 30-day no sugar or a 10-day cleanse, those are really short term. They're not really sustainable, which is going to not really give you the results that you're ultimately looking for in the end.
Yeah, exactly. You just keep going around and around, right?
Just around and around. Yeah, I've been there myself. So like, no judgment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah, no, I get it for sure. And so if anyone has questions, you're okay with them either sending you a message, emailing you. We've got all of your contact information there. Again, I love the Instagram. I was watching a bunch of your reels, which I need to learn from you because they're super fun and entertaining. So keep that up. And
thank you.
yeah, for sure. And then it looks like you have a ton of services that you offer. So I think this is brilliant. I think this is something, different, but important that a lot of people would benefit from. So thank you so much for doing the last minute thing.
No problem. I was like rushing to get things done. I was like, I gotta do this.
Yeah, right.
I love this kind of stuff. So thanks for listening, guys. And hopefully, if we don't connect on here, send me a message, even just to say hi somewhere in here. So
yeah, exactly. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We'll definitely stay in touch. Well, we have come to the end of the second Live Beautiful Wellness Summit. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And we will... Yeah, if you are interested also in looking back to last year's, we had a few of the same speakers, but also a few different ones. So feel free to check that out. If you just go to YouTube and search Belle Live Beautiful or Live Beautiful Wellness Summit, it should come up there. So lots of good information. Again, I can't thank everyone enough for not only coming to attend the webinar today, but also the speakers. I mean, collaborating and supporting each other is so important. And I think we can really learn a lot from each other. We all have different, journeys and experiences and education and knowledge and passions that when we come together, this is really how we help others and help people live a more beautiful year. So let's hope that this year is on its way. I think regardless, we've all learned a lot over the last 2 years of going through this pandemic. But now, as you've noticed, the theme is really about focusing on yourself and your purpose and really satisfying and fulfilling yourself that way. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful day. As always, I love learning from other people. And if you have any questions, concerns, or want me to put you in touch with someone, definitely you can check out my Live Belle website. In addition, I have recorded this webinar, so I'm going to do some editing and I will be posting this version on my YouTube channel as well as sharing it with the speakers. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, so that'll be going out. And if you or you know of anyone who would be interested in maybe speaking at next year's Live Beautiful Summit, always good to let me know, and we don't have to worry about having last minute, you know, people join, which is still great. But anyways, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you always. Oh, that's very sweet, Tara. And we will be in touch, and I will let everyone know when the video is up. So take care of yourselves. Have a beautiful 2022.